Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in, and we are back for a very special round of the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. And it's going to be a special event today at Watkins Glen for round 6. We'll talk about exactly what that's going to be momentarily, but it is a beautiful day out at the Americas. The entry gates are absolutely packed full of people ready to get in and view this amazing race that we have for you tonight. The format for tonight's race is going to be a 10-minute qualifying, 10-lap sprint race, and a 25-lap feature race. So we do have two big races for you tonight, and they are both worth points, which means that essentially there is double points up on offer tonight at the race. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this. We had a great time out last week at Laguna Seca for round 5, and now here we are in the latter half of the 10-round season 1, the debut season, of course, of the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, and we're going to be taking you very soon live on track to take witness and bear witness to all of the action. The teams have moved over to the New York location near the little town of Dix, and are all set up in the paddock, ready to go at the beautiful Watkins Glen. And like I said, we'll take you through some race information momentarily. The weather here is looking pretty fantastic. We'll talk about that soon as well. And the championship as well, heating up now for the last 5 remaining rounds of the season. Very much looking forward to that. And yes, so welcome in everyone in the grandstands today. Hope you're enjoying listening in. My name is George Cooke, also known as Crazy Good Kung Fu, and I will be in the commentary box tonight, taking you through all the live action, which is going to be absolutely brilliant. You're going to see some pretty crazy stuff on track. There's a very high-speed round here at Watkins Glen, and we're going to the long course tonight. So they will be including the boot, the heel, and the toe. That's all going to be part of tonight's action in Group B. And like I said, we will be taking you round the track and giving you some grid information momentarily. And so we might as well go there now. And as I said before, it is round 6, a special race event here for the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship at Watkins Glen. 10 minutes of qualifying will be happening in about 15-ish minutes. Then we'll have a 10-lap sprint race and then a 25-lap feature race. Both the races are worth points, and the grid for the 25-lap feature race will be set by the finishing order of the 10-lap sprint race. So not dissimilar to what you've seen at Formula 1. And speaking of Formula 1, this track here at Watkins Glen used to be known as the United States Grand Prix a long time ago, back when they used to race the Formula 1 cars around here. Not something they do as often these days, as you all know. Not part of the Formula 1 calendar, although it'd be pretty cool to see it come back, so maybe someday. Nonetheless, you are watching the Group B broadcast tonight, and that'll be with myself, with George Cooke, in the commentary box. Now, in terms of the special format, in terms of tyres, there will be no mandatory tyre for the sprint race, so everyone will be opting to go onto the soft tyre, I imagine. But there is a mandatory hard tyre requirement for the 25-lap feature race here today, which is going to shake things up a little bit. It'll be interesting to see exactly what strategies everyone ends up choosing tonight, and we will let you know what the predictor strategies are in a little bit. Now, of course, a shout out to our Group A broadcasts. That's usually with Nick Patasso and Joel Austin. Tonight, unfortunately, though, it is just Joel Austin in the commentary box, so please make sure you head on over to the other YouTube stream to give some love to the Group A broadcast as well. And of course, I will mention this as always. Do feel free to like and subscribe to the MotorMotion E-Series YouTube channel. We do appreciate all of your viewership for everyone in the grandstand tonight, and hitting that like button really does help us out to get the word out about this amazing, amazing racing league. So the weather in the United States at Watkins Glen, it's 22 degrees Celsius. I don't know what the heck that is in Fahrenheit, but fortunately we're going to be bringing the metric system all the way over from Europe, where our origins are. Well, technically our origins are Australia and New Zealand, but nonetheless we'll be using the metric system today. So a slight gust in wind and a little bit of humidity, but that's all to be expected. A little bit of passing showers as well, but I've taken a look at the weather radar, and I don't expect us to have any rain during the entire event at this stage. So not even a light shower at all. There is a little bit of cloud cover, 62%, and so that does mandate a S04 preset weather for dry, cloudy, and sunny in the GT7 engine. So tonight you are watching the Group B lobby. That includes the Silver Championship and the Bronze Championship, also known as the Pro-Am and Am categories. Here's a little look at the drivers in each category. Then the thing to take note of mainly is the green and the red tags. Those will be on all of the cars as well, to make sure that it's nice and easy for us in the commentary box and for you viewing at home, in the grandstand and abroad, to recognize who is who. And so we look now to round 5, which was on about 2 weeks ago. We've had the TCR Cup round 2 between then and now. But 2 weeks ago, we did have quite the race at Laguna Seca, which was a 60-minute endurance race, which is standard for the MotorMotion E-Series. And then the soft tires were mandatory there. Quite an interesting race. Lots of action on track, with some people who did particularly well and some who didn't do quite as well as they maybe should have. And some interesting strategy calls by a few drivers, especially Monica Camilleri and Dean van der Zandt, who absolutely smashed things. But the winner of that race was Matthew Joynson of Scarborough Motorsport, the JB Hi-Fi sponsored car. He's in the Porsche 911 RSR with that team, so 20 points for him. Great job there. Then in second place, it was Monica Camilleri for NED Racing, the whiskey sponsored car. 15 points for her and a great drive out at Laguna Seca. Third place was Dean van der Zandt, executing a master strategy to gain 10 points for WTCR, that's World Touring Car Racing, in the Jaguar F-Type. Then we got Aidan Sampson for Diffusion Race Engineering. He had a great race, 8 points for him in 4th spot. And then the outstanding shout-out, I think, for last week, which was to have our AM-class replacement driver for Diffusion Race Engineering. So he was replacing Richard Robinson, and he managed to get himself right up into 5th spot, so 26 points for him. But the team will only take home 13 points due to the reserve driver rules, which do indicate that you only take home 50% of the points for any reserve driver that comes in and races for you. So the rookie there in Ethan Simons doing very, very well. And I did call him last time Ethan Simmons. Oh dear, I'm going to get this wrong again, I think, folks. But Simons, I think it is. So it's Ethan Simons, who was racing last week, not racing this week. And then we've got in 6th spot a great finish for Matt Kutcher for Black Rose Racing in the Mercedes. 6 points for him. Then behind him was Jeff Bruin from Gridline Racing, 4 points for him. And then equal on 4 points was Sean Parker, our privateer, who will not be participating tonight, unfortunately, but I will let you guys know a little bit more about that shortly. So for the 2nd spot in AM category, the winner being Ethan Simons, was Troy Britnell. 16 points for him gained, 9th spot overall. Great race and got some extra points for finishing ahead of Mad Rick. 10th spot, Chris White for WTCR. 11 points for him and a good race overall. 3rd spot in the AM category. 11th position overall, Dylan Scarborough taking 4th overall in the AM category. 9 points for him, all of them ahead of Ricky Rick. 12th spot went to Mad Rick, Ricky Rick from Strike Race Tech, who had a bit of a shocker of a race, going wide and spinning a couple of times, and that was certainly unfortunate. So he finished quite well down the field, quite a way down the field, unfortunately. 1 point overall for him. Then in 13th place, it was Karma Foster for NED Racing. She bagged 6 points and not able to get quite ahead of Mad Rick to get those extra points, but still a great drive from her. Then for Strike Race Tech in 14th spot was Tim Piers on 4 points. And 15th spot, rounding out the grid, was Gridline Racing's Wade Rushton, bagging 2 points at Laguna Seca. So where does that put us in terms of the standings for the Silver and Bronze Championship? Well, here you go. Still in 1st place in the Pro-Am category, it is Dean van der Zandt on 84 points, 22 points ahead of his nearest driver championship contender of Matthew Joynson for Scarborough Motorsport on 62 points. But behind him is Sean Parker, our privateer, in 3rd spot with 53 points, so not a massive gap between these guys. And with double points available today, it is all to play for. 4th spot with some great recent finishes, especially at Laguna Seca. Her best results, second place, NED Racing. For NED Racing, it is Monica Camilleri on 41 points. Hot on her heels, though, is Jeff Bruin, also known as Squirrel, for Gridline Racing on 32 points. Then Matt Kutcher, Black Rose Racing, 6th spot for him overall in the Pro-Am category, 30 points. Very close between 5th, 6th, and 7th. And speaking of 7th place, it is Aiden Sampson for Diffusion Race Engineering on 25 points. And last but not least, it is Rick, Mad Rick, for Strike Race Tech, 8th in the driver standings for the Silver Championship on 5 points. For the AM category, and this is the Bronze Championship, first place at the moment, and not by much, is Wade Rushton, who finished last in Laguna Seca, but some earlier good performances between round 1 and 4 has put him still in the lead for Gridline Racing. 69 points, a bit of a magic number, some would say. Followed closely, though, only 7 points of difference. In second place, Dylan Scarborough for Scarborough Motorsport. He is the team owner of that JB Hi-Fi sponsored Porsche. 62 points for him. Then third place, it is Troy Britnell for Black Rose Racing, the Mercedes driver. 55 points at the moment. Fourth spot in the AM category, it is Richard Robinson, also known as Robbo, for Diffusion Race Engineering. 42 points and equal to Karma Foster in 5th place for NED Racing, also on 42 points. Sixth spot goes to Chris White at the moment, WTC Racing, 36 points for him. And last but not least, it is Tim Piers for Strike Race Tech on 23 points overall. So this is across all of the races so far, going into round 6. So the overall team standings, as you can see on screen right now, Scarborough Motorsport off to a great start in the first half of the season, bagging 260 points overall between their 4 drivers. Bear in mind, these standings are based on not only the Group B, but also the Group A points gained by the team and their drivers. So in second place, Black Rose Racing from South Australia in the Mercedes AMG, 222 points for them at the moment. They're looking to make a bit of a comeback, and again, double points available tonight, so it's all to play for in the team championship. Third spot at the moment from Queensland, it is NED Racing, and they are on 186 points at the moment in their magical Aston Martin V12 GT3 car. Fourth spot goes to WTCR from South Australia as well. 170.5 points for them with the Jaguar F-Type GT3 car. The reason they've got a 0.5 there is due to a reserve driver taking a half points finish in a previous round. Behind them in 5th spot by only 0.5 of a point. From Tasmania, it is Gridline Racing, a well-known name in the GT7 community, led by none other than Scott Taylor. 170 points for them in the BMW M6 GT3 car. And then in 6th spot, Diffusion Race Engineering, a team from New Zealand, and doing quite well given everything that's happened to them. 167.5 points for them at the moment. That's 6th place overall, but lagging behind a little bit, but on a bit of a magic number. From Queensland, it is Strike Race Tech, and they're on 69 points. So the entry list today, and running through the grid on the 132 car for WTCR, it is Dean van der Zandt, our championship leader for Pro-Am. Then in the 73 car, it is Chris White, his teammate at WTCR. The number 18 car, the BMW of Jeff Bruin for Gridline Racing, and his teammate in the 88 car is Wade Rushton. The 21 car of Aiden Sampson for Diffusion Race Engineering, and his colleague in the number 20 car, it is Richard Robinson, also known as Robbo, for Diffusion Race Engineering, our only Kiwi team in the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. The 28 car of Rick for Strike Race Tech, Mercedes AMG, of course. And of course, I should mention the Diffusion Race Engineering chaps also in the BMW M6, likewise with the Gridline Racing guys. So Strike Race Tech in the 28 car, Rick, and then his teammate in the number 9 car, it is Tim Piers in AM class. The 426 car of Matt Kutcher, he's actually not able to make it tonight, so we do have a replacement, and that will be Nicholas Gow, who's come in from the reserve driver list to replace our Pro-Am category driver from Black Rose Racing. He'll be in the 426 Mercedes today, and also known as Fitness Geek, so just in case you have a fitness thing going on, maybe he's the guy to talk to, I'm not sure. We'll find out. The number 55 car of Troy Britnell, his teammate, and driving in the AM class today in the Black Rose Racing Mercedes. In the 777 car, it is Matthew Joinson, our race winner from Laguna Seca round 5 for Scarborough Motorsport, and his teammate and team owner, Dylan Scarborough, in the 22 car the 911 Porsche RSR is the car of their choice. The 502 car of Monica Camilleri for NED Racing in the hot pink Aston Martin V12, and her teammate in the 666 car, channeling the energy of the devil this time round, of course, is Karma Foster, who's put in some great performances recently for NED Racing in the purple Aston Martin V12. Now, another unfortunate thing here is the 83 car of Sean Parker will not be participating tonight. He's unfortunately had to pull out, so we won't be seeing him on the grid, sadly. So our privateer not going to be bagging any points for the Driver Championship, and since he doesn't race for a team, no one's going to suffer from that at the end of the day, except for us who want to see him out there racing. He's usually in the Mercedes AMG GT3, and unfortunately, we won't be seeing him tonight on the track. And of course, last but not least, it is myself, George Cooke, our commentator in the commentary box tonight. So, we will be going on track momentarily to bring you some action. So get yourselves buckled in, get ready, and we're about to go on track. Alrighty, so everyone's still doing a little bit of warm-up at the moment. We will go on board for a little while. We've got about 7 or so minutes now until qualifying begins. So just a reminder on the format, 10-minute qualifying. That will set the order for the sprint race, which will be a 10-lap sprint race here at Watkins Glen. And then we'll be going to a 25-lap endurance race, our feature race of the evening. So make sure you stay tuned because we've got a lot of on-track action that's going to happen. The sprint races are going to provide quite the shake-up because they are worth full points, just like a normal 60-minute enduro would in the GT3 Championship. And I've got to mention as well that we are sponsored today by Player1 Sim Gear, so we're going to go quickly check out their advert and we'll be right back in just a minute.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
So Player1 Sim Gear have kindly sponsored us here at the GT3 Championship, and they'll be providing some prizes for the division champions, 4 divisions that we have. And they're a Melbourne-based and 100% Australia-owned and operated company. When they launched, they set out to create an online destination for racers and flight simmers alike to shop for all the best hardware and brands. So they love feedback. They love people going and talking to them who are passionate about sim racing and flight sims and all other kinds of sims as well. So make sure you go and visit them on www.p1simgear.com.au. And they are proudly sponsoring the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. So a little bit about the track here today, because it's an interesting track that we're at today. It's quite a long track, so we're going to be seeing some interesting lap times. But it's located, also known as the Glen, and I have a little running joke with a couple of friends of mine calling it Mowers Gym, for those who know what Jim Mowers is. Of course, lots of grass cutting going on at this kind of a track, but it's located in the town of Dix, just southwest of the village of Watkins Glen in New York, the state of New York, and it's very close to the Seneca Lake. It's known around the world as the Formula 1 United States Grand Prix, which it hosted for 20 years, by the way, if you didn't know, from 1961 to 1980. So you used to have Formula 1 cars going around here, as crazy as that seems. They would have been obviously the slightly older spec Formula 1 cars. But they host all sorts of racing these days, including things like the World Sports Car Championship, the Trans Am, the Can-Am, that's the Canadian Am, the NASCAR Cup Series, and the International Motorsports Association alongside the IndyCar Series. So it's a place that's owned currently by NASCAR, as far as I'm aware, and NASCAR do come here regularly for some absolute chaos, because they really, I mean, you can see with the barriers around the track, they really have tried to ensure the safety of everyone in the grandstand, because when you've got NASCARs going around here, things can get rather intense. And yeah, it was opened in about 1956 to host some auto races. Well, back then they were known as auto races, what we now know as motorsports races. And the circuits has the layout of the track's been more or less the same since 1971. They had some minor modifications after a fatal crash there, and Francois Severt in 1973, and McDuffie in 1991. So some tragedy at Watkins Glen, but nonetheless they have made sure that the track is safe, And they've got two options at the track. They've got short course and long course. The long course, of course, including what's known as the boot. The boot, which is turn 7 and turn 8. Turn 7 known as the toe, and turn 8 known as the heel. So instead of taking the usual right-hander through the chute back onto the track for the last couple of corners, they instead take a left-hander down through into the boot, up the toe, down the heel, and through back into turn 9 and 10, the last 3 corners of the race. So it's a absolutely fascinating track. I love it because it's so high speed. It does wear out the tires quite a lot, but that's something that I quite like about this track. It's high speed, it's high energy, lots of fast corners, and then flowing sections that lead into each other. I think it's absolutely brilliant. We do have a back straight and a pit straight. So the back straight is about just after turn 4. So we come up through the S's in turn 2, 3, 4 after a hard braking zone at the end of the pit straight. And then we end up on the back straight, which goes into probably one of the trickier areas on track, which is the bus stop chicane. Very tricky to get right, but worth a lot of time if you do get it right. So it'd be something to look out for on track, is what kind of action is going on there, because at the end of the day, if you go side by side through there, one person is almost guaranteed to go onto the grass or crash or spin around. Can be pretty nightmarish for the guys if you get it wrong. So this is, as we're just on board now, I can just see we're just on the back straight now going towards the bus stop. So take note, everyone. This is where some of the action will happen. Big slipstream will be in effect. Now, in qualifying, the guys are not allowed to use slipstream as much as possible if it's avoidable. But in the sprint race and the main event, the feature race, it's absolutely legal to do so. In fact, I'd say encouraged, to say the least, because at the end of the day, you want to be taking advantage of the hole in the air that is being punched in front of you, as we do see a Mercedes of Black Rose Racing going a little bit wide there. This is them just coming onto the boot right now. Up the toe they go, and then down the heel. I'll try to get this right because I've had a few issues of late where I've called the heel the toe and called the toe the heel. So forgive me if I'm wearing my shoes backwards. Do let me know if I get that wrong. But nonetheless, a fantastic race we have for you tonight. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. It's a 3.5-mile course, so going to be expecting some pretty long times in terms of the race pace here. And I think anywhere between a 140 and a 150, or a high 150, should be expected. And of course, as I mentioned before, the Racing Soft tires are going to be in use for not only qualifying, but also the sprint race. I don't think anyone will be choosing the mediums, certainly not the hard tires for the sprint race. They'll be wanting to maximize the speed of these GT3 cars as much as possible. So there might be a little bit of management, though, of the Racing Softs, as they will degrade pretty quickly. This track is notorious for giving cars some pretty crazy graining on their tires. And especially with these high-speed left and right-handers. Not only this section here, this is pretty hard on the tires up through this section. And it starts to get a little bit closed in, the track does at that stage. As we're on board at the moment with the AM-Class Coca-Cola live read Mercedes AMG of Tim Pears. He's putting in a few practice laps behind the Black Rose Racing. We've got a little bollard there on the road, so someone's already gone wide and thrown a bit of debris on track. That's actually to be expected, to be fair. There's a fair amount of signage at this track, being in America. You've got to expect it at the end of the day. They do love their advertising, everyone getting in on it. And with the turnout today, in terms of the number of people around the circuit, it's no surprise that it'll be a pretty lucrative little advertising deal that they'll be getting there. And Watkins Glen can, I think at its maximum, hold well over 20 or 30,000 people around the track. In the grandstands, it's a little bit less than that. The grandstands aren't absolutely massive, but there's plenty of area to stand on the grass, as you guys can see. See the fans in the background walking around the beautiful meadows that surround Watkins Glen. Lovely part of New York, and very close to some lakes as well, specifically Seneca Lake. So it's a beautiful temperate area, and we're getting, you know, a little bit of humidity in the air. Oh, a little bit wide there, unfortunately, for that racer. But yeah, the weather at the moment holding up. Beautiful day in the afternoon for the start of this race, and qualifying should be starting reasonably soon. Remember, we've got a 10-minute qualifying before we get into our 10-lap sprint race. So make sure you're buckled in with plenty of hydration. because you will absolutely want to be sticking around for all of the crazy action that's about to happen. I'm particularly looking forward to this one because the special event format is quite unique in the 10-round season, and we get to see 2 races tonight. And not only that, the guys and girls are going to be pushing a lot, because not only do you get maximum points for the sprint race, but it also sets the starting grid for the endurance race coming up after it. So all to play for, really, and it's going to really open up and shake up the championship standings. We should see some very interesting shifts in the driver standings and the team standings after this. So Scarborough Motorsport, who are currently leading the championship, may not be leading the championship by as much after this race. It's going to be really good fun to see, so make sure you are buckled in. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on some fantastic action. So just quickly running through some of the sponsors for the cars, because, you know, we don't say this enough about the liveries on the cars. And, you know, there's some amazing work that happens in the background by not only the engineers on the cars from a mechanical perspective, but also from the team leaders in terms of strategy, organization, and management. And then, of course, you've got the drivers who are preparing, and they're going to do the hard work out on track. But there's also a category of people we hardly ever mention, and that is the livery designers. So if I put on my American accent, I should say livery. You've got some livery designers out there that need some recognition. So we're going to go through and just quickly run through the grid and just check out some of these amazing liveries, because they are absolutely fantastic. So we're on board right now with the Gridline Racing BMW M6. They're sponsored by Valvoline and Bosch. So you can see pretty fantastic livery. It's one of my favorites, the black, white, and red. Excellent job by whoever the livery designer is. See if we can scroll through. This is the Black Rose Racing Mercedes AMG. They're sponsored by Inky and Chill Out and Going Sideways. Great stuff there from the 426 car of Nicholas Gao. He's gone around at turn 1. Does manage to get out of the racing line, which is excellent. But that Mercedes AMG looks like an absolute weapon, I've got to be honest. And while we're here, right behind him is the Diffusion race engineering car, the green, black, and white, with a Kiwi flag on it, I have to say. Very nice touch. Sponsored by Spotify and Fuchs. So the BMW there looking sharp indeed. Trying to find some of the cars on the grid. Here's the Porsche 911 RSR of Scarborough Motorsport, sponsored by JB Hi-Fi and Nulon. This is quite a distinct livery they've got here, which I absolutely love. Really suits the lines on the Porsche 911. And they've got a little juice logo out the front as well, MotorMotion on the sides. And of course, every car livery is required to have the green and red stickers. You see that at the top right-hand corner of the front window, and also on the rear left bumper of the car to indicate the category they drive in. So green for Pro-Am, red for Am Class. Very important to remember. Going through the bus stop, getting it a little bit wrong there, unfortunately. Let's see if we can find some other cars on grid, and we'll talk about the other ones later if we don't see anyone else. Oh, whoa, whoa, some action happening there. Stopped car. It looks like qualifying is just beginning, so here we go, everyone. We're just about to get into it. We'll put some race information on as well to make sure that we can, in fact, see lap times and such like that. And do let me know if the audio and everything is coming through clearly on YouTube. It should all be good, so I won't mention it again. But we'll keep running through some of these other liveries. I think there's only one more that we really need to do, and that's NED Racing. So we'll try and find a NED Racing's driver. Got 2 of them on the grid today. And there we go. On board now with Monica Camilleri. And she's in the pink Aston Martin V12. I really like what NED Racing's done. They've given the body and the decals are all the same between the drivers, but they've got different colors depending on their favorite color. So good job there by NED Racing to really put that all together. I think it honestly looks excellent. They are sponsored by Ned Whiskey and Penrite. So really, really cool livery from them. Excellent job. And I think we've only got one more to go here, which is if I just find a WTCR car. Let's just jump through the grid. And there we are. So sponsored by Mobile One and Goodyear. So a great brand. We all know Goodyear. And they are a fantastic brand of tire that you can get. They do a little bit of other things as well. They fly some blimps occasionally. And yeah, interesting to see. But the 132 car, we're on board right now with Dean van der Zandt. The Jaguar F-Type. Will it be strong around here? I'm actually unsure, because over at Laguna Seca we did see that whether it was Dean himself or if it was the F-Type Jag, it was definitely lacking in some pace And given there's a big back straight, preceded by a couple of high-speed corners, it might be quite interesting to see if he's actually able to put it on the top of the grid. He qualified 6th last time, but had a fantastic recovery drive to get up to 2nd place. And across the line for the first of the push laps is Jeff Bruin. And already only 8 minutes left in this session. So the qualifying time at the MotorMotion E-Series is usually 20 minutes. And that's to ensure that the guys and girls have plenty of time to get out on track and go for a pit stop or so. But at this stage, I don't think they're going to really be able to. They're also all running half fuel, I believe. We will check around the grid. Yes, half fuel is the requirement for this race. And we've got some votes from the grandstand. I've been doing a little poll in the background for who your favorite driver is, and any predictions that anyone has for the race, the qualifying, the sprint race, please do let me know in chat. But I'm hearing a few rumors about some fanship for none other than Monica Camilleri. She's one of 2 girls on track, and her teammate, Karma Foster, in the purple Aston Martin V12. So yes, the comments from the grandstand are, go girls, go, go, go. And Monica Camilleri had a 2nd place finish at Laguna Seca. She absolutely slammed it. And she was racing like I've never seen her race before. It was absolutely brilliant to watch her. The Aston Martin was definitely quite dominant in some ways at Laguna. It certainly had some minimal advantages in some ways, but the Porsche was just too strong. No one could really get on board and do anything else. We've got quite the group here forming up for qualifying. They'll all be wanting to get that slipstream, but they might be compromising their outlap, their fastest laps here if they do get stuck behind a driver that's made a mistake. So we do have Marty McFarty. We've got sorry, this is Matthew Joynson at the moment in the 777 car, as we do see the first lap set. So they're in the 40s. Okay, so Jeff Bruin, the Gridline Racing, will take a 145.2. That, with the clean air that he's got ahead of him, has set him up to take pole at the moment. A replacement driver for WTCR is actually put himself 2nd on the grid. So Fitness Geek doing very, very well there at the moment. Now, Dean van der Zandt takes 3rd spot. That's a very, very good lap from him. He needs to continue pushing, though. These guys might just dip into the 44s today, and a 44 would be a fantastic result. So just going through the order at the moment, Jeff Bruin, a 145.2 for him. Then Nicholas Gow for Black Rose Racing in the 426 car, going wide at the bus stop, but previous lap was a 145.289, so only 42 hundredths of a second actually between them, which is very, very close. 3rd spot is Dean van der Zandt on a 45.4, looking to improve. Now, this is really cool. The BMW M6, the Valvoline BMW M6, I should say, of Gridline Racing. Wade Rushton, an AM-class driver, way up the grid at the moment. And he's set a 45.592. That's a great lap from him. We'll see how the times do drop as we are coming into the last few laps of the next the 2nd lap here. Nearly at half-time of qualifying already. It goes quick, doesn't it? And then we've got Richard Robinson of Diffusion Race Engineering. Spotify-sponsored BMW, 45.6 for him. Then 6 spots, Dylan Scarborough. He's pulled over for Karma Foster, wants to get, for Monica Camilleri, wants to get out of the way. Don't think he's got a penalty or anything like that, but he just wants to get out of the way of the traffic, get some clean air. 45.9 for him. He should be able to start another flyer. As we do see Jeff now go into the 44s. Jeff Bruin's on fire. The BMW just absolutely flying at the moment. Fantastic job, and yeah, really good stuff. Monica Camilleri has gone up into 2nd spot. Great job by her. Also in the 44s, brilliant. Oh, this is absolutely excellent. 44s are absolutely brilliant times. The guys at Groups A may only be getting to 43s or so, maybe some 42s. So these drivers are all on pace at the moment, doing very, very well. In 3rd spot, actually, is another little bit of a surprise here. The Spotify sponsored BMW for Diffusion Race Engineering, that is Hellblazer. So he's done very well to get himself up into 3rd spot at the moment. Well done. So that's Aidan Sampson, the Pro-Am division for Diffusion Race Engineering. He's only just under 0.2 away from 2nd spot finish. So can he put it on the top of the grid? I did see Nicholas Gow go into the pit stop, so he's gone for some fresh tyres. I don't think there's really a massive effect on the wearing softs. here today. So I don't imagine that a pit stop in qualifying is really necessary, because you're going to lose 2 laps essentially in qualifying, because you've got to do a second out lap. So he's just starting what is essentially his second push lap now, and we're 6.5 minutes through qualifying. Nonetheless, he's looking fast as the Pro-Am reserve driver. He's replacing Matt Kuchar today for Black Rose Racing. Double points on offering, so if he gets some good results, only 50% of those will go to the team, but it'll still make a difference with Black Rose Racing being in second spot in the team championship at the moment. Behind them, Diem van der Zandt getting pushed down a little bit in his F-Type Jag, sponsored by Goodyear. A 45.4 his best, and he's looking like he's on a bit of another outlap, technically speaking. He's not really pushing. He's off the throttle. He's weaving around, trying to get the tire temps in. Behind them, Wade Rushton, really, really good job by him. He's our top qualifier right now for the AM class. So he's really done well in that BMW. The BMW is looking quite mighty around here, I must say, because we've got BMW at the top, and top 2, I believe. No, make that 3. The top 3 spaces are all now BMWs. So look at that, Wade Rushton up into 3rd spot. What a qualifying lap for him. That's a 44.7. So we've got an AM class driver now in the 44s. That's a fantastic job that he has done there to put that Gridline Racing BMW right up into the podium places in qualifying with only 2 minutes left to go. So can anyone dethrone our AM class driver? He's right up there at the moment. The next person in AM class is actually Dylan Scarborough. He's a little bit further down the field in 8th spot at the moment. And yeah, we'll see if Fitness Geek can make any progress as well. The fuel, not an issue at all. And he's just coming across the line, and it's a 45.2, so that's good enough for 6th spot. Takes away 6th place from Diem van der Zandt. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of pushback from Diem, because we know how fast he can be. It's just the F-Type Jag just doesn't seem to have the raw power in it at the moment. For whatever reason, I'm not sure if it's top-line speed or if it's cornering. We know that on strategy, Dean is pretty much unmatched on the field, because he has executed 5 rounds previously of just superfluous strategy and numerous race wins. That's why he's in the top of the driver championship for Pro-Am class at the moment. And did we just see a 44.2? We just saw a 44.2 from Jeff Bruin. This is an amazing qualifying for him at the moment. Whether he's been practicing or whether the BMW is just absolutely dominant here. I think it's probably the BMW, because we do see Aiden Sampson behind him in 2nd spot, only 0.164 of a second behind. Brilliant stuff. He's down though 0.054 of 0.154 of a second. So this won't be a lap, and I believe he'll run out of time. So this is his last lap as well. We've got 30 seconds left in this qualifying. The grid is forming up. Wow, what a qualifying we've seen here today. Let's just look a little bit further down the grid as well. Troy Britnell in 11th spot, behind Marty McFarty, who got pushed out by the 9th spot Mad Rick. Then we've got Chris White, and then we've got Tim Piers, roadie. And then who's bringing up the rear of the field? Let's see. It is Karma Foster at the moment. So Karma not having a great time here at Watkins Glen in qualifying. Unless she can improve, she will be qualifying last. Under pressure there from the 777 car of Matthew Joinson. Will she have to let him go? She's already 0.2 down on her time, so I don't think anything is going to change there at all, sadly. Oh, and she's in the barrier. Oh dear, we're going to switch off that. We don't want to see that. She's had a bit of a disaster in qualifying, so she will be last on the grid. But time is up now. Can Jeff Bruin improve at all? I don't think he needs to at this stage, although behind him, Aiden Sampson will be looking fast. So across the line he comes. Will it be a faster time? No. No, he's well down on his time, so that'll be a 45.3 for him. But overall, still handling it. Oh, and looks like Aiden Sampson's pulled out as well, so he's not going to improve. 2nd spot for him. Wade Rushton, he's got a 1.5 second penalty. No improvement there. Let's look at Monica Camilleri in the NED Whiskey sponsored NED Racing Aston Martin V12. Can she improve on this lap? We'll look at the split timing, but look, she's already on a 154. No way. She's had some issue during the lap, so that is going to be 4th spot for her. No improvement there. In 5th place, it is Richard Robinson for Diffusion Race Engineering. He's also backed out after doing a 46.6. No improvement there. Nick Gow 6th spot. Okay, right. We will go through the results momentarily. Dean van der Zandt, can he improve? Yes, he takes 5th spot there. A 45.1 from him. Excellent job right at the end on the last lap in the F-Type Jag. Absolutely puts himself up into a well-deserved 5th spot. And that's going to be on the 3rd row of the grid. Well done to him. Excellent job there. Looks like Matthew Joynson had a bit of a shocker. The Porsche's gone from being very dominant at Laguna Seca to being not necessarily the best car that you want at Watkins Glen. It suffers on top speed. So that's going to be a bit of a shame for him. He certainly will not be super happy about that. But these guys can execute some strategy and bring themselves back into it. And Mad Rick manages to get himself 9th spot there. His teammate, Rody, with a 1-second penalty at the end, in 13th spot. So Strike Race Tech, again, not having a fantastic outing in qualifying. But the cool thing is we've got a 10-lap sprint race coming up for you momentarily. And after that, we'll be right into it in terms of the race. So what is the strategy going to be? Will they be able to make it through the whole 10-lap race on just the one set of tires? I think they will. They should have easily enough time, tire life and enough fuel, so there shouldn't be any problem. It should just be a flat-out sprint all the way to the end. 10 laps it is. But on pole, it is Squirrel 18, Jeff Bruin for Gridline Racing. 2nd place on the grid, 1st row of the grid. Side by side to Jeff, it is Aiden Sampson. Great lap by him. And 3rd place, so it's all BMW top row. The only BMW that he didn't get up there was actually Richard Robinson of Diffusion Race Engineering, who's starting 6th place. And 4th spot, the 2nd row of the grid is Monica Camilleri. Fantastic qualifying for her once again. And then the 3rd row of the grid is 5th and 6th spot, Dean van der Zandt and Richard Robinson. 4th row of the grid is our reserve driver for the 426 car for Black Rose Racing, replacing Matt Kutcher. That is Fitness Geeks, Nicholas Gow. And 8th spot is Matthew Joynson. Then on the 4th row of the grid, it is Madrick, our Pro-Am driver for Strike Race Tech, and Dylan Scarborough in the 911 RSR for Dylan Scarborough Motorsport. Then on the 5th row of the grid, it is Troy Britnell and Chris White. And then on the 6th row of the grid, rounding things out, it is Rody, that is Tim Piers, and Karma Foster. So very interesting here to see exactly what has happened. And we will take a very quick break as we do wait for the results. We've got a 5-minute break, so we can talk through a few things while we wait for this all to kick off. 10 laps around Watkins Glen. I don't know about everyone in the grandstand right now, but I am absolutely fizzing at the possibilities and the potential of this race for all the drivers. 10 laps to earn full points. That's a bit of a win. So for Jeff Bruin and Gridline Racing's Wade Rushton, both of those two for Gridline Racing, qualifying 1st and 3rd with fast cars, BMW, this is looking like it could be a fantastic round for not only the BMW teams, of which we have 2, but specifically in this group, the Group B lobby for Gridline Racing. So a sandwich of Gridline Racing cars, and the meat in that sandwich is Aiden Sampson, also in the BMW. So yeah, very interesting, but not much separating all of those cars. They're all in the 44s. The only car not to get into the 44s, the only other car in the 44s there was the V12 Vantage, sponsored by Ned Whiskey of Monica Camilleri. So Super VT 2000 done a very, very good job to put herself up into the 44s. Anything in the 44s is fantastic pace for these Pro-Am and Am category drivers. But I think at the moment, really, the shout-out's got to go to Wade Rushton. He's qualified 3rd for Gridline Racing. Absolutely brilliant job by him. He's an AM class driver, so he's top of the AM class field. The next AM class driver, I'm just looking down the field at the moment, is actually Richard Robinson in 6th spot, also in the BMW. And then 3rd spot for AM class is Dylan Scarborough, down in 10th spot. So a really big split here for the AM class drivers. And the BMW just... It's got some sort of pace on it that we haven't seen before from the BMW. Laguna Seca, it did quite well, but for some reason, the BMW really favoring the American circuits. Has done for the last couple of races. And yeah, to see it up on the top of the grid is absolutely fantastic for those teams. Jeff will be absolutely stoked. And Aiden will be stoked for 2nd spot. And yeah, like I said, brilliant job by everyone in qualifying. Well done indeed. I think the person who lost out most was Karma Foster. She was suffering on tyres and the Aston Martin just not performing for her. But, you know, she's being propped up by her teammate, Monica Camilleri. who's done very well to put it at 4th on the grid. And another standout here is actually Dean van der Zandt, who was down in 6th spot, but managed to get himself back up into 5th. So he'll be starting on the 3rd row of the grid in a few minutes. So continuing to look around the grid, there's some impressive performances from most of the guys and girls on the track. 45s, 1 minute 45 lap times from everyone in 10th spot and above. So overall, some pretty good race pace being shown by everyone on the grid. And I think we've got to give a shout out to Nicholas Gow as well. He's a Pro-Am driver, a reserve driver for Black Rose Racing. So of course, as I mentioned, we've got 2 drivers not racing today, and that's Matt Kutcher for Black Rose Racing. He's being replaced by Nicholas Gow, who has qualified in 7th spot in the Mercedes AMG for Black Rose Racing. And then, of course, we do have Chops, and that's Sean Parker. He's not able to make it to Watkins tonight, but he's not racing for any team, so his points really don't go anywhere other than the Drivers' Championship, of which he's part of the Pro-Am category. So he'll be missing out significantly and dropping right down the field today because he won't be getting any points from this double points round. So not the round you want to be missing out on, especially as a privateer, because your team championship doesn't matter to you as a privateer. But the driver championship certainly does. So strong start for Sean Parker. Unfortunately, he won't be in the top part of the drivers championship anymore after this special event. And of course, for those of you who are joining us at the moment, we are at Watkins Glen for the Player1 SimGear GT3 Championship. And we are going onto the grid now, everyone. So let's get things going. Get ready, because we're about to start the main event. Here we go. Get ready. Buckle in, because Watkins Glen for 10 laps, our sprint race is about to start. Let's get all the information up. And we have a rolling start procedure today, which will begin momentarily. So the drivers won't have to do any kind of false grid starts or starting from stopped. We do find that to be quite an unfair way of doing things, so we don't do that here in the MotorMotion E-Series. And here we go. The rolling procedure has started. The lights will go on momentarily, and the hype is going. 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and we are out and racing at Watkins Glen for round 6 for the special event. Great start by Jeff and the top 3. Excellent stuff as they go through turn 1. Monica already looking down the inside of Wade Rushton there, but good start, nice and clean from everyone as we go through turn 1 and begin this 10-lap sprint race. It's all or nothing. Get your best boots on and get yourself up the grid, pedal to the metal as much as possible. It'll be interesting to see what the slipstream is going to be like throughout the first parts of this race. Got some action happening down the back of the grid as well, and some passing happening. Marty McFardy already up ahead of Mad Rick. Good stuff there. Will they go side by side into the bus stop? No, they decide against it. Great stuff. Followed by Mad Rick in the Black Rose Racing Mercedes AMG. Great stuff. So we got the 2 Dylan Scarborough Motorsport guys now behind each other, as we do see Fitness Geeks ahead. He is looking to make a move as they go through the boot for the first time on lap 1. Great stuff, but ahead in the first spot, it is Jeff Bruin, and he's pulled out nearly a second gap already from the field. Monica Cavallari putting a lot of pressure on the AM-class driver of Wade Rushton for Gridline Racing. That is going to be a spicy little battle heating up, because right behind them is Dean van der Zandt in the F-Type Jag, and we know how fast that guy can be, how consistent he can be, and how well he deals with the tires. Not that that's not going to matter too much of this race, because it is a flat-out sprint, but this little battle pack starting to form, and that's all helping Jeff Bruin out front and leading at the moment by nearly a second. So great job, but not a lot in it at the moment. The BMW's taking out still the first 3 positions, the podium positions at the moment. Dean looking to try and make a way past Monica on the straight. Monica didn't get a good entry there at all into that corner. We're going to go on board for some onboard shots here. There we go. Dean van Zandt in the F-Type Jag. Will he be able to make something happen? Brakes according to Monica being in front, but gets a great run out of turn 1. They're going to be side by side for the S's coming up. Will he stick a nose in? Oh, he thinks about it, but no, decides better of it. Good choice there, Dean. Good choice. He rides the curb and is trying to do a switcheroo onto the main back straight. Up into the bus stop they go. Slipstream will be in effect now. Behind them, Matthew Joinson up in the 6th spot. So some fantastic overtaking happening from him. He's overtaking the Diffusion Race Engineering's BMW of Richard Robinson. And Richard goes wide in the bus stop. That's going to open up the Black Rose Racing car there of Fitness Geek. Nicholas Gow goes on through and down towards the shoe they go. Great stuff from Nicholas Gow to take advantage of that. Unlucky for Richard. He's just not finding the grip at the moment, these early stages of the race. Needs to make sure they take some time to warm up the tires, but so far a very, very clean start from everyone on the race. The pack is all bunched up. Right at the back, we do see Karma Foster. She's on the back wing of Tim Pears and trying to make up some time, but holding on very nicely at the moment. Very good stuff as they do go purple and a fastest lap at the moment. This is the first lap of the race, so that is not going to be indicative of the overall race pace. Looks like we have had a little bit of a switcheroo at the back, and who's that getting a penalty? That is Gridline Racing's Wade Rushton. Dean running wide there, but the 1.5 second penalty is going to put him way down the field at the moment. He's going to be absolutely gutted for that. I wonder where that actually happened, because we are unfortunately not able to get the replay up for that, sadly. But across the line and 45 flat for Jeff Bruin. He's still got Aiden Sampson behind him, looking close, but not as close as he was. But the gap to Gridline Racing's Wade Rushton is opening up, so he's holding up those cars behind us. Oh, Nicholas Gow behind gets very sideways at turn 1. You don't want to be doing that at all at this track. That's going to open up Richard Robinson in the BMW for a run down the back straight. Can he make something happen? He's going side by side. He pulls out of the slipstream, and looks like Matthew Joinson behind them in the Porsche going to be trying to take advantage of this. But look at the pace on that Mercedes. It's absolutely lightning fast in a straight line. So through the bus stop they go. Behind them, Mad Rick having a better race this week. He'll be wanting to take advantage of that as much as possible. And we are on the 3rd lap of this race now. Racing softs, and oh, off we do go is Dean van der Zandt. Oh no, he is absolutely gone for it. We do have that on action replay. So let's go and see what happened here. So Dean van der Zandt tries to go up the outside there of Monica Camilleri. Gets pushed a little bit wide, and on the brakes he goes. Oh, that is super unlucky for him. Yeah, he goes on the brakes just as he's on the grass there. And that'll be a 1.5 second penalty for him, which he will serve at the top of the heel, which is coming up right now. Great racing from everyone so far. So the only person that really affects at the moment is Dean van der Zandt. He's now miles off the pace. He's got rear wing damage and rear right tire damage as well. Oh, that's going to really hurt him. The damage will be carried until the end of the race or until you pit. Look how much it's affecting him. He's just got nothing on that rear right. He can't accelerate. He can't turn left. That is an absolute disaster for him. It might be something that stewards want to look at after the race, but there was nothing done wrong by Monica Camilleri at all. So she's now under pressure from Matthew Joinson. Matthew Joinson's had a brilliant race so far. He's just been pushing up the field and up the field. He was 7th spot, I believe, in qualifying. Looking for the switcheroo. Monica Camilleri, defensive as ever. She's a brilliant defensive driver, by the way. Really excellent racecraft from her. She closes the door on the top of the straight, and that gives her the inside line into the bus stop. She goes through. Very nice job. But Matthew Joinson not giving her an inch at all. So Dean van der Zandt moving out. Does move most of these drivers up one position. Wade Rushton serving his 1.5 second penalty. Now down in 5th spot. His teammate Jeff Bruin still leading the race out front, and the gap is still opening up. Those little battle pack here has slowed everyone down behind 1st and 2nd spot. But brilliant, brilliant stuff on board here. Oh, we've got Nicholas Gow. He's gone and done a little bit of a pushy. Oh, and wide do we have? We've got, oh, that is Gridline Racing's Wade Rushton, and he has gone wide there. That is super unlucky. We do have the ability to go for a replay here, so let's see exactly what happens. He goes up the inside on the toe. Oh, is there a little bit of contact there? Yes, there is. But it's Wade Rushton who ends up putting the pedal to the metal just a little bit too much. He spins around and goes back onto the racing line. Crikey, I hope we didn't have any contact behind there. So, wow, that's Nicholas Gow now, a Pro-Am driver for Black Rose Racing. He's now up into 5th spot and looking to put a lot of pressure on Matthew Joynson and Monica Camilleri, who has been overtaken. Third spot has been taken by Matthew Joynson in the last couple of laps, last couple of corners there. Very unlucky for her. She closes the door on that Mercedes AMG behind her, but we know how fast the Mercedes is in a straight line, and with slipstream, it is going to be like watching a Formula One race from 2018. We just see the Mercedes drivers just disappear into the distance when they open the rear wing. So we'll see what happens into the bus stop. He's a little bit further back now. Didn't quite have the grip to go full throttle, I think, through the S's there. Nearly catches up to Monica, but Monica holding her line and her nerve very, very well in this race. Looking a little bit further behind as well. We've got Troy Britnell from Black Rose Racing. He's up at the 7th spot, followed by Dylan Scarborough. So right now, the leader of the AM class is actually Troy Britnell. So Troy Britnell, he's doing a fantastic job. A little bit of a battle pack happening here between him and Dylan Scarborough. But this is for AM class victory. This is worth a lot of points. This is worth something like 50, or just over 50 points, I believe, for the AM class. So if these guys get it right, they are in for a massive points haul at Watkins Glen. Looks like we did have some switching up here as well, as Richard Robinson gets ahead of Nicholas Gow. So Nick has had a bit of a problem. Let's see if we can capture that on the replay, as Nick is going sideways. So let's see what happens here to Nick. Oh, Nick ran wide up the toe, and just hold it. Some impressive car control there to hold on to that. Nicholas Gow does lose him, unfortunately, a place to the Diffusion Race Engineering Spotify-sponsored BMW of Richard Robinson. So that is a bit unfortunate for him, but I tell you who'll be quite happy about that is Monica Camilleri. She can wipe a bit of sweat off her forehead and start to get her head down and make some progress on catching back up to the 911 of PLE Black Friday, which is Matthew Joynson in the 777 car. So the 20 car, he's gone from, I believe, 6th on the grid to 5th, but he dropped down early on in the race. So this is an excellent little bit of an advantage that he's gained in the middle part of this race. So Strike Race Tech, they're not having the race of their lives at the moment, I believe. We've got Karma Foster. She's made up a few positions. She's got ahead of Tim Pears behind her for, in the Mercedes AMG. So the Aston looking quite powerful, quite strong. Wade Rushton, of course, right in the back there, but catching up quite quickly to Tim Pears. He needs to find his way past, because he's got about 4 laps now. Well, 5 laps, including this one, to actually get up into a better grid spot. And just to mention, of course, that, got the hiccups already from all this fantastic American beverages. The results here at the sprint race will determine the starting grid for the 25-lap endurance race that we will have after this. So very important to get yourself not up only into the top 10 for the points, but also for the next race, which is going to also be worth points. So yeah, very tricky one. So very unlucky for Dean van der Zandt, who is right down in the back at the moment. Still catching up, but we've got Richard Robinson here. Wade Rushton at the moment. He's on the back of Tim Pears, and he'll be looking to make up a couple of spots. He'll need to get in front of all of those drivers ahead of him. In the background, we do see Dean van der Zandt coming around the corner, but Wade is still carrying some damage from that spin he had at the toe, turn 7 a couple of laps ago. So very unlucky for him. But back at the top, 1.2 seconds is the gap from your leader of the sprint race, and Jeff Bruin of Gridline Racing, to Aidan Sampson in the Diffusion Race Engineering's BMW M6. So the gap has been fluctuating a little bit between just under a second and a second and a half. And we'll keep an eye on the tires as well. There's a little bit more tires on Aidan Sampson's car. So he's been doing a bit of a better job at keeping those tires nice and clean, not scrubbing them off, not scrubbing off the grip too much, which is excellent. Behind them on an absolute charge and going sideways down the hill is the 911 Porsche of the 777 car. That is Matthew Joynson. He's doing very well at the moment. He's at half race fuel. He needs to use a bit more petrol, I think. He just needs to really put his foot down. I hope he's not fuel saving, because that would be an absolute mistake. And then we've got Monica Camilleri being chased down by Richard Robinson. So good job overall. The Aston's not looking great on tires, but everyone's going to make it through the 10 laps without refueling and without changing tires. So that's positive for everyone. but no changes in the grid at the moment. And actually, we've got Marty McFarty. That's Dylan Scarborough in the 22 car. Now, he has managed to get up ahead of Troy Britnell, so that was for the fight for the top of the AM category. So in the Bronze Championship at the moment, Dylan Scarborough, he is going to be bagging some mighty points if he can hold off Troy Britnell behind him. It's, well, like I said earlier, it's worth about 50 points. So currently, Dylan Scarborough's team, Scarborough Motorsport, they are leading the team's championship across all divisions. So a couple of really good points finishes here will really set them up to stay in the lead of the championship. Of course, his teammate, Matthew Joinson, is up in 3rd spot. That's also worth a lot of very, very good points. So great stuff from all the drivers. Oh, sorry, I need to correct myself because Richard Robinson here has actually been putting on an absolute charge. He's actually the AM category leader at the moment. So you do see Dylan Scarborough in the distance there. But 5th spot for the Spotify-sponsored Diffusion Race Engineering team. He is currently our AM category leader. So 2nd spot currently to Dylan Scarborough, then 3rd spot to Troy Britnell in the AM class. But for the Pro-Am, it is Jeff Bruin. He's still ahead. Things are getting a little bit spicier, a little bit closer between these two as the tires do start to wear out. Running a little bit wide there. They both are, in fact. He's down quite significantly. He's lost about 0.5 of a second during this last lap. So Jeff now under a lot of pressure to maintain the race lead. Bag maximum points for Gridline Racing. Aiden Sampson behind him needs to do something for Diffusion Race Engineering here. They need the points more than Gridline Racing, I would say. But both of them obviously keen to get their team as far ahead in this sprint race and set themselves up for a great starting position on the top of the grid for the endurance race, the feature race coming up. And great exit there by Aiden Sampson. Defensive goes Jeff Bruin, but the slipstream will be in effect. I think Jeff's tires are just starting to hit that point where they really start to fall off a cliff. So only 0.2 is the gap. We're going to stay on board with these guys. I'll keep an eye on the rest of the field, see if we've got any action going on down there. But at the moment, it is all action in the last 2 laps of this race. Lap 9 we're on now, and we've got lap 10 to go just after this. Jeff Bruin doing his best to hold off. Will he go defensive here? Yeah, tries to hold the outside line. No, he tries to hold the inside line, but is not able to do it. But as soon as Aiden Sampson pulls out of the slipstream, he just loses all momentum. He couldn't do anything to get any overspeed there. And oh dear, wide, well, technically shallow on exit there is Jeff Bruin. That's not doing him any favors, but because of that, he's actually managed to pull out a little bit of a gap. So he gets a bit of breathing room. He's got a little bit wide there at the start. That's actually what you're supposed to do at turn 6. It's also known as the chute here at the Glen. So 0.5 the gap. It's all heating up. 2 laps to go. Well, technically 1.5 laps now between these two. Cars are getting lighter as they burn up the fuel, but those tires are looking rather bad now for Jeff Bruin. And to compare to Aiden Sampson, Aiden Sampson's are looking very healthy compared to what Jeff Bruin is running on at the moment. Crikey. Oh, will he go for a look up the inside? Oh, no, thinks better of it. He's putting all sorts of pressure on Jeff. He knows that if he can make Jeff make one mistake, then he'll absolutely get himself ahead. Now, the difference between these two might actually be a bit of the traction control settings on these GT3 cars. Of course, modern GT3 cars in real life do have modern TC settings. You do have the option of turning those off for the advantage of getting a little bit more speed. And will there be a send up into turn 1? No, backs out of it again. So we're on the last lap of this sprint race, everyone. It's kicking off here at the front of the grid. We'll try and stay on board as much as we can, but just cycling through the grid very quickly. Wade Rushton has ended up in the last position of this race. Tim Pearce getting overtaken by Dean van der Zant, who's managed to get up 2 spots. A great job there. Connor Foster ahead of them. Bit of a target now on her back. Chris White. Then we've got Mad Rick, who's fighting with Troy Britnell. Then Dylan Scarborough, still second in the AM class. And we've got Nick Gow on debut as a reserve driver for Black Rose Racing. And then we've got Richard Robinson in 5th spot, our AM class leader, just behind Monica Camilleri. And then the top 3, Jeff Bruin, followed closely by Aiden Sampson. And they have behind them, a little way behind though, is Matthew Joinson. So Matthew Joinson looking like he's going to take 3rd spot. But the 18 car of Jeff Bruin, Valvoline-sponsored BMW versus Spotify-sponsored BMWs. BMW versus BMW as they go through the toe, turn 7. Up through the boot they go. Will there be a dive here? Oh, another look there. Oh, can he make it happen? Aiden Sampson, he's all over the back of Squirrel. Great job by him. Very clean racing. He doesn't want to compromise himself or get turned around or anything. And Jeff is driving like an absolute champion now. So the 21 car of the Diffusion Race Engineering's Richard Robertson, he's only got 2 corners left to make something happen. Can he make it happen through turn 10 or 11? Goes out wide. Well, that might be a bit of a penalty there. We'll see. I think he just kept it in track limits. Tries to go on the outside of the last turn. Into the wall he goes, and that will be first position and a race win in the sprint race for Jeff Bruin. Across the line he goes. Great job by him, and fantastic job by Aiden Sampson as well. Matthew Joynson takes 3rd spot. Monica Camilleri, excuse me, will take 4th spot, followed by the AM category winner here. Top points in the AM class for Richard Robinson. Brilliant job. And across the line, oh, nearly getting overtaken by Dylan Scarborough there, is Fitness Geek. Nicholas Gow for Black Rose Racing, the reserve driver. 7th spot for Marty McFarty. That's Dylan Scarborough in the 22 car. And then we've got the 55 car of Tori Britnell in 8th spot. Madrick in 9th. 10th spot, Chris White. Dean van der Zant on the charge, but not able to get up too far. And then we will go through the rest of the grid momentarily. What a race we just had here. The sprint race churning out some amazing racing. And of course, stay tuned. We do have a 10-minute break coming up, and I will be taking a break as well. Make sure I rest my vocal cords after what was a brilliant 10-lap sprint race here at the special event at Watkins Glen for round 6 in the MotorMotion E-Series Player1 GT3 Championship. Wow. What a race. Great stuff between the top 3 there. We've got Jeff Bruin, of course, in 1st spot. Excellent for him. And Gridline Racing, they'll bag a bunch of points for that. Then we've got Hellblazer, that's Aiden Sampson in the 2nd spot. We've got Matthew Joynson in 3rd position. Monica Camilleri, good drive from her, but dropping back from 3rd spot, which she did hold for a little bit of the race, and to 4th spot there for her. Richard Robinson for Diffusion Race Engineering takes 5th spot, and he's an AM category driver, so he'll get points, extra points for finishing ahead of all the other pro AM category drivers below. But Diffusion Race Engineering will be stoked with their finish here. 2nd and 5th, really good job. And it was looking like maybe Wade Rushton for Gridline was going to be up there as well, but sadly he had some incidents. Got spun around, got a little bit eaten up by the pack, and he's missed out a bit. So in 6th spot is Fitness Geeks. That's Nicholas Gow in the Black Rose Racing Mercedes AMG. Bagging 6th place there for his team. Half points for him, though, because he's a reserve driver. Marty McFarty, that's Dylan Scarborough in 7th spot. And then Troy Britnell in 8th spot. So 2nd and 3rd, those two, respectively, in the AM category. Well done to those chaps. Then Mad Rick, a Pro-Am category driver for Strike Race Tech, the Mercedes AMG, finishing 9th. He did have a good run initially, but I think something happened to him during the race. I'm not quite sure what. We didn't catch it on the action replay. 10th spot goes to the F-Type Jag of Chris White, and for the first time in this season, finishing behind his teammate is Dean van der Zant. He usually finishes up the grid. He was charging in 3rd and 4th spot, but unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to make it happen. He had a huge mistake down at turn 6, running onto the grass and spinning his car around. Very lucky for Monica Camilleri that he didn't make too much contact with her. Then in 12th spot, it is Karma Foster in the V12 Vantage of NED Racing. And 12th spot, not ideal for her, but she'll take it. Then Wade Rushton, of course, Gridline Racing, going for a spin on the boot. And then in last place, and last but not least, of course, is Tim Piers, Rody Dongs for Mercedes AMG and Strike Race Tech. So good job overall from all of our competitors. Excellent stuff. And we'll jump you over to this screen for now as we are reconfiguring for the next race. So I will make sure that we bring the start to you, of course, but until then, I'm going to take a very, very short break, so enjoy the music, and we will be back with you very soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And we are coming off of our break in about 5 minutes. So it's a good time to now start talking a little bit about strategy and what's going to be happening in the feature race coming up. Of course, it is 25 laps that we're going to be doing. And there will be strategy involved because we saw that the racing soft tires didn't really end up lasting much more than the 10-lap sprint race. And that's going to make things interesting because that's less than half race distance. And you do have a mandatory tire in the feature race, which is the hard tire. So hard tires required, and we might see some of the drivers today choose to start on the hard tires and get that stint out and done, but they know that they've got a little bit of a limit. And the fuel-wise, they seem to be okay for the 10-lap sprint race, so I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want to start on the hard tires today and do essentially a one-stop strategy. And a one-stop strategy here would be either starting on the softs and going those 10 laps, going into the pits, refueling, and then going 15 laps on the hard tires. And the alternate strategy there, of course, is starting on the hard tires and then moving on to the softs for the last 10 laps of the race. So we should see some very interesting gaps open up on the field. And a bit of a rundown, I suspect, of whoever's in front towards the end of the race. Not expecting anyone to get away too far ahead today in the Group B. We've seen very close racing during the sprint race. Only 0.2 was the gap across the line for the finish between first and second spot. So it's a very interesting little situation we've got here. It's probably about a 45-minute race also coming up because we saw average lap times somewhere in the 145s. So put that all together and we're looking at around 45 minutes for 25 laps. And yeah, everyone will be geared up and excited because they've already earned a bunch of points for their finishes in the sprint race. And that'll all translate now into the grid start positions for the feature race. And that is going to be Jeff Bruin right on the top of the grid, next to Aiden Sampson in second, then Matthew Joynson in third, Monica Camilleri in fourth, rounding out the second row of the grid. Then we've got Richard Robinson, our leader of the AM class. So he's bagged a bunch of points for himself because he's finished ahead of, I believe, three Pro-Am drivers today. So he'll be bagging a lot of points for that finish in fifth spot. And then rounding out the third row of the grid will be Nicholas Gao. He's a reserve driver, as I've mentioned before. Seventh and eighth spot, fourth row on the grid is going to be Dylan Scarborough and then Brits Lightning. They're second and third in the AM Championship in terms of the start grid. And then we've got Mad Rick for Strike Race Tech and Chris White on the fifth row of the grid. Then we've got iMatt, and that's Dean van der Zandt in 11th spot. So really had a disaster in the race, to be fair. He spun around and got caught out with damage for the rest of the race, but good job getting back up into 11th spot at the end of the day. He'll be right next to Karma Foster in 12th spot. Then Wade Rushton, who should be further up the grid based on that BMW speed today, but a big mistake from him and not able to get further up the grid in the rest of the sprint race. And he'll be sharing the last row of the grid with Tim Piers from Strike Race Tech. Just heard from Race Control, we do have about 1 minute left until we get started with our 25-lap endurance race. So get buckled in, get sat down, we're about to get started and go back out onto the grid, ready to go for our beautiful sprint race. So, of course, for everyone who is watching, I am George Cooke, and I've been in your commentary box. Well, I've been in my commentary box for the last hour or so. And soon enough, you'll be out on track with the rest of the races as we do begin our 25-lap sprint race. Another rolling start for everyone. And, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting little strategy race here, I think, because like I said, the mandatory tires are the hard tires, and here we go. We are getting started already, so let's jump onto the grid and get started with our rolling start. So we do get all the information showed, and already I've got a few notes there in terms of tires and what they're using. And we'll quickly cycle up the grid and just see who's starting on what tires, just to give us a little hint as to what's going on Yeah, so we've got a very big mix of racing softs and racing hards at the start, but here we go for the beginning of our 25-lap endurance race. The lights are out at Watkins Glen, and here we go at Watkins Glen for round 6 of the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. And Jeff Bruin off to another good start there, clean for all the races. Monica once again looking up the outside, or the inside of turn 1, trying to get ahead. And we've got Richard Robinson already trying to make a move on Monica Camilleri. He's our M-Class leader, and he's made it. He's made it stick. But will he keep it down the back straight? Let's see. Some good racing from everyone behind there. Fitness Geek, that's Nicholas Gow. He's done well. Followed by Dylan Scarborough and Troy Brittenell. Then we got Ricky Rick, Chris White, and the 2 Jaguar F-types looking to get started and get a good start here. So I wouldn't be surprised if some team orders came in and Dean van der Zandt was let through, but we'll see exactly what happens. So far, no grid changes at all. The starting grid is the current grid. And down they go into the first time into the boot. Very interestingly, we do have Jeff Bruin. He started on the hard tires today. So has the car behind him, Aiden Sampson. And looks like we've got another hard runner behind him as well, and that is Matthew Jointson. And looks like Monica Camilleri is really, really suffering on those hard tires, not able to get them up to temperature at all, already having to go defensive against a couple of drivers who've already got past her. So she's having a bit of a tricky start to this race. But Richard Robinson in 4th spot, he's done fantastically well. Get ahead, and looks like, yeah, we've had a move there from Nicholas Gow on Monica Camilleri. She slipped down the order from 4th to 6th already, losing 2 positions. So that's not ideal. She might be doing a bit of fuel saving. We will check and see, but fuel saving here will save you a bit of time in the pits. Not necessarily the best strategy here today, because you will get a big opportunity to refuel, and everyone is going to end up needing to, depending on how much they're pushing. And into the pits already comes Jeff Bruin. Is that a mistake? We've got to see if we can catch that on the replay. Yes, we can. Excellent. Has he made a mistake here? No, he's just decided to come in. Okay, so in goes Jeff Bruin. Let's see if this strategy works out for him. Oh, we've got a few more. Chris White and Gridline Racing's Wade Rushton all into the pits already. Switching onto the soft tire early. That is very interesting. That'll mean that they're probably going to need to run at least 2 stops, because they're not going to make it towards the end of the race on a single set. Now that is something that I did not predict at all. So a switch up in strategy already. The team's doing the math and the calculation, and obviously coming out with that strategy as optimum. For now, though, that puts Diffusion Race Engineering's Aiden Sampson up into the lead on the racing hard tires, followed closely by the soft-running Nicholas Gow. Nicholas Gow will probably be able to get ahead on the soft tires. You can see the pace difference and the level of grip difference between the hards and the soft tires. And that might be why all of those cars decided to come into the pits and get rid of those hards as soon as possible. Start on the hards, and then just get rid of them, throw them out the window, because they're so slow compared to the soft tires that they're not worth running at all. Very interesting strategy, but Nicholas Gow here is going to be, oh, he's involved in a bit of contact there. Got to make sure, keep it clean through the top of this area, because it's very easy to spin out in this part of the track. And he's got the run on him. Through they go into one of the highest speed corners of the track, and oh dear, a little bit more contact through that corner, but Nicholas Gow has gone through, and into the pits comes Aiden Sampson. So he's going to get off the hard tires as well. His teammate decides to stay out for another lap. He's on the racing softs at the moment, so pushing a slightly alternative strategy here between the Diffusion Race Engineering chaps. Very interesting. Okay, so that elevates Monica Camilleri up into 3rd spot. So now on board with Jeff. He's on the soft tire, absolutely going for it. He's down in 10th spot now. Will this work out for him? We will see. We know how fast he is on the soft tire, so this could be a masterstroke of strategy right now, and we'll see exactly what happens later on in the race. But yeah, Aiden Sampson will come out behind him, and he's already been dropped by 5 seconds. So 5 seconds is the gap now between what was 1st and 2nd spot in the race. That is the difference between a couple of laps on the softs, or literally 1 lap on the softs, a 6-second gap, and that is a massive, massive strategy call there from the chaps who pitted earlier. Very brave, and it seems to have worked out for all of them. Rushfire, Wade Rushton behind them, also taking up the option to pit early, get off the hard tires and go onto the racing softs. He hasn't notably taken any positions, but he is still ahead of Matthew Jointson, who also did... Oh, he's had an incident as well. We're going to see if we can capture this. Did something happen through there? No, he's already got the damage, unfortunately, so the action replay not able to capture that. He might have gone wide, but he has picked up a huge amount of damage on that Porsche, and that is going to really make him suffer. He's just switched onto the soft tires as well, so he's a pit stop down from most of the rest of the field, and he's picked up a huge amount of damage on the front and the rear of his car. Not ideal at all, and the soft running cars ahead now, provisionally in first, second, and third place, is Nicholas Gow for Black Rose Racing, and we've got the Spotify BMW of Richard Robinson, and then NED Racing's Monica Camilleri, who's under a little bit of pressure already, as is Dylan Scarborough from Dean van der Zandt, who's on an absolute charge. He'll be on the soft tires at the moment and making up positions, so he thinks an on-track position is going to be worth it, and we'll see if he decides to do a little bit of a longer stint on the racing soft tires and maybe move to the softs most of the race, giving a little bit of a bump draft there, maximizing his slipstream behind Dylan Scarborough, but will pull out and try and get the overspeed, and he does. Into the bus stop he goes. Great move there by Dean van der Zandt into the bus stop. Very scary place to overtake, but manages to hold it and doesn't pick up any penalties for running wide, because he didn't run wide at all. Great stuff there from Dean van der Zandt, and I believe he's actually on the racing soft tires and confirming that now with the pit crew, so well done to him. We've got a very mixed up field right now, a lovely mix of strategies. There's all sorts of excitement going on, racing between the hards and the soft tire runners, and of course all the mix of cars going through. So this pack here led by Troy Britnell, then Mad Rick on the racing hard tires, followed by Karma Foster for NED's Racing. Let's see what tires she's on. She's on the racing soft tire, so she'll be faster than the two cars ahead, and she's going to go for a move there. Is she going to make that stick? No, she pulls out of the move. Okay, fair enough there, but behind her, she's got to be a bit careful. Oh, she goes squiggly. Not ideal. Tim Pearce will get the run of her up the hill towards turn 9, but also pulls out, so everyone being cautious. They know it's a long race. Still 21 laps to go, so we've only just started the race, and already we're seeing so much action on track. It's absolutely brilliant, but your provisional race leader by 1.2 seconds is Nicholas Gow. Great stuff. Jeff Bruin, our former race leader, he's sitting 7 seconds ahead of Aiden Sampson now. That's impressive. So Jeff is really putting the pedal to the metal and making himself a bit of a gap there. And by a bit of a gap, I mean 7 seconds of a gap, which is very impressive. Great stuff from him. What a mix of strategies we've got. It's absolutely brilliant. Wade Rushton behind Aiden Sampson by about only 2 seconds and dropping. The BMW is looking very, very mighty here, as we do see Chris White round turn 1 in the background there for WTCR. WTCR, of course, are in the F-Type Jag. The teammate of Chris White is Dean van der Zandt. He's our Pro-Am category leader in the driver's standings at the moment, and he'll be looking to make up some positions. And we do see Monica. She has actually lost out there to Dean van der Zandt, so more racing hard versus racing soft action going on, but Dean is absolutely on a charge at the moment in that F-Type Jag, making the most of those soft tires and trying to pull himself out a bit of a gap in this race. So the top 5, none of them have done a pit stop. In fact, top 7 or 8 have not done a pit stop, but below them we do have 5 cars that have decided to jump in immediately, get rid of the hard tires after 1 lap, or 1 or 2 laps I should say, and throw on the softs immediately. I think Aiden Sampson was reacting to the strategy call of the car ahead of him in Jeff Bruin, the 18 car, and decided to follow suit, get in, get rid of those hard tires. So I think the drivers are thinking that the double stint on softs over the course of the race is going to be a lot faster than sticking out with the hards for any long period of time, and looks like most of the rest of the grid has not actually kind of realized that, unfortunately. So we do see Troy Britnell. He's coming in now for his pit stop. So he's going to get off the racing hard tires. He's going to go on to the soft tires, and likewise with Mad Rick behind him. So people now starting to choose to get off the hard tires as soon as possible. That's 6 laps in. So maybe extending the hard tire stint a little bit longer than they would have liked. I'm not sure if we're going to end up with a one-stop strategy here from many of the drivers, because the extended hard stint is going to have to take you probably at least 10 laps.
before you want to really pit on a one-stop strategy. So as prophesized, or as the great Murray Walker would say, I don't make predictions, I make prophecies that turn out to be false. Well, you're hearing it here today, folks. The prophecy of the one-stop quickly being slammed and smashed by the drivers on course. The pit lane crews, I'm sure, are having a great laugh at the commentary box right now for the prophecy that went wrong. And like I said, great racing so far between the between the hard runners and the soft runners. Really, really top stuff. Now, our provisional race leader, he's in the back of a couple of cars now on the racing soft, so he's behind Tim Piers and Karma Foster. He should be able to get past them pretty quickly because the BMW is very fast, and both of those two ahead of him are AM category drivers. So Jeff is the Pro-Am category driver for Gridline Racing, so it should be no trouble for him to pick up the speed and get past. Will he make a little move here towards the end of the lap, or just wait it out to the long straights ahead of him? We will see. Aiden Sampson behind him. He was P2 at the start. That's where he qualified, and fell behind significantly. Whoa, is that going to be a bit of an overspeed out of the corner? Yes, great stuff there, as we do see Dylan come into the pits to get rid of his hard tires, and a double overtake for Jeff Bruin. Wow, great stuff. Look at that BMW go. Takes out an Aston Martin and a Mercedes in one foul sweep. Excellent job there from Jeff. Tim getting a bit squiggly on the exit of turn one. The fight between him and Karma Foster will continue. But nonetheless, Jeff back up into 5th spot now in this race after having done a pit stop. So all those ahead of him, for example, Karma Foster, there's only a 5-second gap now to her. She hasn't pitted yet. She's still running the racing hard tires. Average lap time is in the 48s, whereas the fastest lap at the moment is a 45.1 by Wade Rushton, who I believe is down in 9th spot at the moment, and right on the back of Aiden Sampson, putting a pressure on the Diffusion Race Engineering driver. Great stuff from Wade Rushton here. AM category driver, of course, and looks like he's been training hard for this track. Nice combined team strategy there, following suit to his teammate, Jeff Bruin. Great strategy calls. Now, I just want to check the gap here. Looks like the gap between our former race leader, Jeff Bruin, who has pitted, and Dean van der Zant is only about 8 or 9 seconds. And Dean is only about 7 seconds off the lead. So everyone who stayed out is starting to miss out a little bit, unfortunately. And look at Nick Gow's tires. The Mercedes, always brutal on his tires, but crikey, they're absolutely worn out after 8 laps. He's going to have to come into the pits pretty soon. He's at half fuel, so he doesn't really need to fuel up if he goes for another soft stint, but he will need to use the racing hards at some point in this race. He's being chased down right now by Richard Robinson in Diffusion Race Engineering, who also hasn't stopped. But look at the tire difference between these two. The BMW's always been great on its tires, but that's really starting to show at this track, and Robbo doing a great job in the 21 car to maintain the grip level in the soft tires. He'll be able to extend the stint, potentially up to lap 11 or 12 before he really needs to pit, and won't need to worry about fuel either. So great stuff from him, and he's maintaining the gap behind him to Dean. Dean's not catching him at all at the moment, so great pace from the AM category driver of Diffusion Race Engineering. Fantastic stuff from the Kiwi. Now, Monica is falling further and further behind on the racing hard tires. She might be trying the one stint. So, Monica, make my prophecy come true and win the race for us with the one stop. But I have to admit, it's looking more and more unlikely given the pace of the cars on the hard tires. There's a 3-second gap. 3-second gap per lap between the hard tires and the soft tires on track. That's a massive, massive gap. No wonder the top runners decided to throw out the hard tire and just jump straight on the softs. It's just leaps and bounds ahead in terms of lap time. And Jeff Bruin taking full advantage of that in this race so far. As we do have a little bit of battle pack going on here, it is Wade Rushton trying to make his way past Tim Piers, and he does so into, through the heel they go, turn 8. Great move from him. He's an AM-class driver, overtaking AM-class drivers, so all these guys and girls very equal on pace. Karma Foster leading the pack at the moment. We do have Nicholas Gow coming into the pits for Black Rose Racing. But what can Wade Rushton do in the 88 car? He needs to get ahead of Karma Foster. Needs to make something happen, open himself up a bit of clean air to make sure that those tires don't degrade too quickly. He'll want to extend the stint as much as possible because we still have 21 laps left. Correction on that. We do have about 16 laps left in this race, so he'll need to make it at least 6 more laps before another pit stop. And he gets the inside line through the S's in turn 2 and ahead. Look at the grip difference between the soft tire, even a degraded soft tire, and the hard tires of Karma Foster. I believe she's on the hard tires. No, she's on the soft tires as well. But they're just degrading so much. She's got no grip out of the corners whatsoever. That's going to open her up to be overtaken by Aiden Sampson, who absolutely goes for it. Oh, but doesn't make anything happen. Oh, that'll be frustrating for him. Goes for the old switcheroo, the new switcheroo. Tries every kind of switcheroo, but eventually up the inside, through into the chute, he does go. So Wade Rushton here has managed to overtake another Pro-Am driver, and that is Aiden Sampson. Fantastic job, and he's only 7 seconds behind his teammate, Jeff Bruin. So masterclass strategy from the 88 car and the 18 cars of Gridline Racing. Really top job from the South Australian team, and they're going to be absolutely stoked with that. We saw Karma Foster going wide there up the hill. Very easy to do, but her tires not suiting this track and her driving style at the moment. And 0.5 the gap now between Monica and Jeff. So Jeff will get ahead and lap, essentially. Well, he's technically not lapping because Monica has not yet done her pit stop. She might be coming in the next couple of laps, but trying to extend her stint now on the racing hard tire. She can probably take it close to the end of the race, but we saw that the pit stop gap is pretty small. You don't end up spending a lot of time in the pit, so the cost of the pit is going to come from the fuel that needs to go in. And she runs long on the hard. She's just, a little bit of contact there. Jeff just going in a bit too deep. He's got the soft tire on, so he's got miles more grip and just not quite taking into account what was going on in front of him in the slower running Monica Camilleri. That's going to cost him a bit on track, not a lot. But behind him, we do have Wade Rushton, who's closing the gap, but Aiden Sampson behind him, putting on some pressure again. Will he be able to make a move? He's in the slipstream now. It's a great job from Aiden Sampson at Diffusion Race Engineering. And his teammate, Richard Robinson, now provisionally leading this race. He hasn't done a pit stop yet, up there in first spot. And behind him is Dean van der Zandt. So really mixed up grid at the moment, but the grid is going to start to even itself out as the top 3 do eventually come in for their pit stops. We will see. So 5-second the gap between the F-Type Jaguar, sponsored by Mobil 1, and Goodyear of Dean van der Zandt. He's only 5 seconds off of Richard Robinson, but the Racing Soft starting to look a little bit worn. So it might be time for Dean to start thinking about a pit stop. We do know how good he is on rough tires, so maybe he'll be able to make it work. But Robbo, wow, that front left is looking completely dead. That's really going to affect him. Will he decide to come in for a pit? No, he stays out for another lap. Okay, it's a brave choice, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. In the words of the commentators in the movie Dodgeball. Excuse me for quoting that movie on stream. It was one of my favorites. I do like it. Crikey, that's going to be a very brave lap. He's in puncture territory for that tire. Hopefully he doesn't get one and spin around, and the gap behind him is closing up quickly. Will Jeff be able to do something here? Into turn 1, tries to go for the outside line. Monica will have to give him space on the outside and through the exit. Good stuff from Jeff. He's got the overspeed. Will he be able to make it happen through the S's? But they are side by side. Great stuff here. We know Monica is a supreme racecraft defender. She knows exactly what she's doing and does her job very, very well. But it is to no avail today, as Jeff will get ahead of her, and no chance for getting that position back from the Gridline Racing driver of Jeff Bruin, who, if we take the pit stops into account, is now something in the order of 8 or 9 seconds ahead and in first spot. This is a strategy genius call from the Gridline Racing chaps, and Jeff is set at the moment to win his first race in the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. Impressive stuff from him. Behind them, and it looks like Aiden Sampson has managed to get past Wade Rushton. Let's see if we can capture that on the instant replay. Unfortunately, we can't. But Wade Rushton there, the Gridline Racing, being overtaken by the Pro-Am category driver of Diffusion Race Engineering. Does make a bit of sense, as he will... Oh, I think he's just served a penalty as well. So yes, running wide, it looks like, has cost Wade Rushton second place in the race. He's still first place in AM category, so he won't have anything to complain about at this point. He'll bag maximum points in the AM class championship, as we do see Richard Robinson for Diffusion Race Engineering now in the pit lane. I'd be very interested to see whether he comes out on another set of softs or if he's going to take this opportunity to get onto the hard tires and get rid of them as soon as possible. 20 minutes into this endurance race and 14 laps to go. Let's go on board now with Robinson as he does come in, and out of the pits he goes, and hard tires is the choice for this man. So he's just been overtaken by Wade Rush, and oh, he's crossed the pit line entry line. That's a 3-second penalty for the Diffusion Race Engineering driver. Oh no, you've got to be very careful, especially on entry, as the yellow line that you have to be within is pretty tricky to see. So unfortunately he's run a bit of a foul of the stewards, and he's been given the maximum pit lane entry line crossing penalty of 3 seconds. That is going to really hurt his race. Might be a good opportunity to just do a 1 lap on the hards, get rid of the penalty, go into the pits, change to the softs, and try and make up some distance. But provisionally now, and only 10 seconds in the lead, without having done a pit stop, is Dean van der Zandt. And yeah, that is going to be quite the tough thing for Dean to continue holding that lead. But let's see what he can do. He's going to end up something like 20 or 30 seconds behind because of the pit stops. That'll put him behind Jeff, put him behind Monica. And I think he's going to have to come into the pits very, very soon because, yeah, that tire not looking good. Now we've got Aiden Sampson catching up to the back of Monica Camilleri. I think we've been told we're going to have an onboard. Fantastic, here we go. So on board in the BMW of Aiden Sampson. Great views here. And we do see Dean van der Zandt in the background there going into the pit stop. So he'll be switching on to either the soft tires again or opting to get onto the hard tires. So we will see exactly what he chooses to. Monica going defensive once again. It's her signature move. And both of them go past Matt. That's Dean van der Zandt. And oh, very close there, Aiden Sampson on the back of the hard-running Monica Camilleri. She's doing well to extend this stint at the moment, but I think she'll find this will come out and bite her, sadly. And looks like Robbo has decided to keep his hard tires on, but he's very low on fuel. So what's the strategy here? I think he knows that he can make it about 11 laps. So he wants to make it one more lap maybe on the hard tires and then come in for a bit of a pit stop. So the grid is starting to get shaken up a little bit now, as you do see Karma Foster and Chris White in the pits at the moment. Matthew Joinson in last place. So that's not a usual place for him to be. I think he might have had a bit of a mistake somewhere, and that's really, really cost him. So Karma Foster coming out on the hard tires. She will get over speed. Oh, maybe just ahead of Matthew Joinson, but Matthew's going to try and get her in the S's. Oh, good stuff. Excellent. So Karma Foster, she's missed out a little bit there, but nearly got ahead. Not that wouldn't have been for too long because she's on the hard tires. And Matthew Joinson is certainly not the person she's racing, but Matthew having a disaster today. He was really flying at the start. Went in for his pit early, like the others, but just not able to make it work on these soft tires in his second stint. So the race is on now between Dean van der Zandt and Richard Robinson. Hard tires for Dean van der Zandt and hard tires for Richard Robinson. So both of them going for it, but Richard is for Diffusion Race Engineering on the hard tires, and he's in the AM class. So we know that Dean will be faster than him on track, and they're in the same tire strategy as well. And looks like Dean might be coming into the pits. Yes, he is. So Dean only wanting to do one lap there on the hard tires and get rid of them. That's a barrier. Into the barrier just went Richard Robinson. That picks him up a 1 second collision penalty. That is not going to help his race. So he's picked up a pit lane exit penalty of 3 seconds. Now he's picked up a 1 second penalty. He is not going to be happy, but also picking up a penalty is Nicholas Gao. So he's in fourth spot as we do see the leader pit. So we've got Jeff Brewer now back into the lead. He's got a 4.5 second gap to Aiden Sampson, who's on, they're more or less equal on tires and fuel at the moment. So the strategy for being off the hard tire earlier has given Jeff a 4 second advantage over Aiden Sampson. But Aiden is really pushing. He knows that race victory is within grasp. as we do enter the halfway mark of this race. We're just over it now, so 25 minutes into this race at the moment. Good stuff, but yeah, Nicholas Gow at the moment, he'll have to slow down at the top of the shoe. But he's on the medium tire. Look at this, very interesting strategy. He's on the medium tire at the moment. And we've just had Robbo run wide there, and oh dear, very close. Both of them will have to serve their penalty. There are two cars slowing down, and will this open up the middle line? Look at that, through goes Dylan Scarborough. Great stuff, and up in a third spot for Dylan Scarborough. The ocean parted for him, and he's gone straight through. Fantastic stuff. That is a photo, if I didn't know it myself. I'll remember that one for a while. Great stuff, and he's on the racing softs as well. So both those other chaps behind him on the racing hards, he'll pull out a bit of a gap and disappear, as we do see our race leader, Jeff. He's in the pits, and so is Aiden Sampson. They're going on to the last stint of this race, and this will provisionally potentially put Dylan Scarborough up into the lead. He's got another pit stop to do, so this is definitely not going to be him in contention for the start for the win here. But out goes Squirrel. He's going out of the pits now, but will he get ahead of Fitness Geek, who's also just come into the pits? Mad Rick now going ahead of them. But these guys are on their second stop, so out into traffic they will go, and he's behind Mad Rick. Jeff's not going to be super stoked about that, but he does get ahead of Troy Britnell behind him. He does get ahead of Tim Piers, and two cars behind now is Aiden Sampson. So he's behind the two Mercedes drivers, one from Straight Race Tech and one from Black Rose Racing. So that's a bit of blue flag traffic that Aiden Sampson's going to have to make his way through. But on the softs now, he's got just enough fuel. So good stuff, good strategy from the top two. So Ricky Rick currently in third spot, but that's provisionally because he will need to make another pit stop. Fitness Geek ahead of him. He's the reserve driver for Black Rose Racing in the 426 car, replacing Matt Kutcher this weekend, as Matt Kutcher couldn't make it to Watkins Glen today. And of course, one person we are missing, who I should mention, is Sean Parker, our privateer. He's not here today as well, so unfortunate for him really, because he's missing out on some great points. But right now, the leader is Dylan Scarborough. Scarborough Motorsport, excellent stuff. He'll have to come in for pits as well. So Jeff Bruin still absolutely in the lead of this race. Fresh tires, full on fuel, and only 10 laps to go in this feature race. Crikey, we are having a brilliant race. Look at all the strategies and how this is mixing it up. It is absolutely brilliant to see the strategies evolve throughout this race. The adjustments being made as Tim Piers running a bit wide as he comes up the hill. Not ideal for him. So taking a look at the rear of the field, we do currently have Karma Foster with a 4.5 second penalty. So she's crossed the pit line lane. That's a 3 second penalty, and then it picked up a 1.5 second penalty, potentially for some contact with the barrier. So that has ruined her race, unfortunately. Ahead of him, and this is a bit of a surprise, though he's on his second pit stop. He's done his second pit stop now, is Matthew Joinson in the 777 car, the Porsche 911 RSR. And he's on the racing softs. He's going for a final stint here, but he's well down the field. He's a minute off of our leaders at the moment, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do much to bring himself back into contention. He had a terrible time in the sprint race, finishing right down the field, and now here he is at the back of the field again. So what was a potentially very, very good points-filled weekend for him has suddenly turned into a bit of a disappointment. Him finishing this far down will help his teammate get a few points, but that's going to be very little consolation for the Scarborough Motorsport drivers. Troy Britnell also coming out onto his last stint. And same with Ricky Rick. So all the drivers at the back now on their last stint. Chris White, he's just come into the pits a couple of laps ago. And then we've got on the racing soft tires Richard Robinson. So he was way up the field as well, but he's got a bit of work to do now. He's not too far behind people, so 3 seconds off Dean van der Zandt in front of him. But Dean is on fresh tires and hunting down Wade Rushton, who's in 7th place at the moment, and on the back of Monica Camilleri. Monica has gone for the racing medium tires. So this is a very interesting strategy from Monica. She's gone racing hards nearly 3/4 into the race and then jumped onto the medium tires. So she's still going to be slow around the track. She probably is going to, in hindsight, regret the strategies she's chosen today, because the mediums, there's not really a lot of point being on the medium tire at all. It's still slow. It'll last a little bit longer. Goes defensive. Doesn't want to get overtaken, as we do see Dylan, Tim Piers, and whoever else that was going into the pits for their final pit stop. That puts provisionally Fitness Geek up into the lead. Now, here's where it's going to get interesting. Fitness Geek has got probably just enough tires and just enough fuel to make it to the end of this race, but he's only 5.6 seconds ahead of Jeff Bruin, who is going to be rapidly hunting him down on a fresher set of tires with more fuel. And of course, Jeff is he qualified on pole because he won the sprint race, looking for a double victory here. That's going to bag him so many points, it's not even funny. He says, I say as I laugh and giggle about it. But nonetheless, Jeff, what a drive from him today. Jumping into the pits on lap 1 to give up the lead, throw out the hard tires and get onto a double soft stint. And it's going to be a 24-lap double stint on the softs. That's fantastic stuff to manage the tires. The BMW just doing so well on tires and fuel. It's just a monster. It's an absolute monster, but he'll have to put in some better lap times here to catch up with Fitness Geek. And Fitness Geek's got a bit of a chance here to win the race. If he manages it well, then he should be in a position to maybe stay ahead, but there's still 8 laps left in this race. Solid 10 or 15 minutes to go, so it's all up in the air at the moment. Anything could happen at this stage, and don't count out Jeff, but I'm also not going to count out the reserve driver of Black Rose Racing. He's got the potential to keep it in front. Of course, not the easiest of tracks to overtake on occasion. The back straights where you get the slipstream is definitely the place to do it. Jeff will be looking to do that, but he needs to catch up by at least 4 seconds to get into that slipstream range, the effective slipstream range, I should say, and get himself ahead of Nicholas Gow in the 426 car. Aiden Sampson is in 3rd place at the moment behind, but depending on how Fitness Geek goes, he may be able to hold on if he does drop the position to Jeff Bruin. So Fitness Geek executing a very good strategy. He is on the 1 stop, so this is the same strategy as what Monica Camilleri down in 5th place is executing. Run a little bit longer on the hard tires. You'll be giving up track position, but you'll be saving that 20 seconds or 30 seconds in the pit stop and going onto the medium tires for the end of the race. So it could work out, but man, the gap is starting to really come down. Did Fitness Geek make a bit of a mistake there? No. I think his medium tires are just really falling off a cliff. Look at the amount of pace difference between the soft running Jeff Bruin behind him and Fitness Geek, Nicholas Gow. The gap is just halved in what was a few corners on this lap. So I don't think, as much as I would love Nicholas Gow to be able to stay ahead and really prove that he's got some guts here to go onto the medium strategy, I don't think the 1-stop strategy is superior in any way to the 2-stopper on the softs. And the soft tire is just too strong at Watkins Glen. Of course, Watkins Glen, 3.9 miles of very high-speed corners and high-speed straights. So the tires take a beating, but you do get a huge advantage from being on the softer compound, especially in the high-speed corners. And the gap is now down to 1 second. It'll shortly be under 1 second. It is under 1 second. And that's slipstream range now for Jeff Bruin. So the fight is all but done between these two at this stage. Behind them, Wade Rushton. He's 8 seconds off Aiden Sampson. If Fitness Geek, if Nicholas Gow continues to fall off the pace in the 426 Mercedes, he will end up potentially being in range of the soft-running Wade Rushton. But behind them, they do have the medium-running Monica Camilleri. She's done very well to hold on to 5th spot during this race, but they do have she does have a very fast-running Dean van der Zandt closing up the gap. So will she be able to hold on for the rest of this race? We've still got 7 laps to go. So this lap and then technically 6 more. Well, 6 laps to go, actually. If maybe one day I'll be able to do some mathematics properly in the commentary box. But when there's lots going on track, I do find it very difficult to multitask. The mental bandwidth is not infinite, unfortunately, though that seems to be the expectation of those in the commentary box. So maybe I just need to do better, or maybe I need to drink more energy drinks. We'll see. But nonetheless, Dean van der Zandt now closing under 2 seconds to Monica Camilleri. So Monica's got a lot of work ahead of her to keep that 5th spot and bag a bunch of points for NED Racing. NED Racing, of course, doing very well in the driver championships. They're currently, if I just take a quick look, they're currently in 3rd spot. So a good finish here by Monica will really, really help them to get up the grid in the team's title. Though they do have other drivers in Lewis Atkinson and Dean Eisen. Very, very fast guys in Division 1 and 2. That's the Elite and Pro categories. They'll be in Lobby A, which we are broadcasting live at the same time on YouTube. But the gap is falling very fast for Monica. She's not going to be happy, but there we go. There's the move. We are seeing it now by Jeff Bruin on Nicholas Gow, and Nick is going to try and hold the outside through turn 1, but he's run wide, and oh dear, there's contact between them. And that was definitely Nicholas Gow's fault there, because he got a bit squiggly in turn 1. Jeff's going to have to do a little bit of work to make sure that he doesn't get overtaken by the very high top speed of the Mercedes behind him. Go defensive. He does go defensive. He's going to try and hold that line, force Nicholas Gow onto the outside of the bus stop, and there's no way on medium tires that you can hold any kind of braking speed through the bus stop. So Jeff secures his position in first spot, now extending the gap, and I think that's going to be all she wrote in terms of the race lead, though I do say that 2 seconds behind is Aiden Sampson. So Jeff has really been held up by Nicholas Gow. Of course he's allowed to be, because there's no blue flags out at the moment for him, but Aiden Sampson's going to have to navigate past the medium running Nicholas Gow, who's really suffering on tires and fuel. I think he's going to have to come in for another pit stop. He hasn't managed it well enough to last another 5 laps out there, because he'll be driving on a dead front left tire, and that is going to be nearly impossible to do and maintain speed. So like I said, Wade Rushton here is only a couple of corners behind those guys, so he's got all the potential in the world to re-secure a podium position. And bear in mind, he is an AM class driver. There's no way, I don't think, that Super VT, and oh, we've got some action behind Super VT and Dean running side by side. Good move from Dean, running her a little bit wide. Pushy is Dean. Wants to get past the medium running Monica Camilleri, and he does do it. Dean moves up into 5th spot. Great stuff for him, but Monica will miss out on that top 5 finish unless Fitness Geek runs out of tires, and you can see how he's dropping away from Jeff Bruin in front. 2 seconds now, the gap. And Aiden Sampson catching him up quick. And I hear we are going to be going on board now with Aiden Sampson. So let's see what this BMW can do as we go for a lap around Watkins Glen on board. Look at the overspeed that he's going to get, even though that Mercedes has got a lot more top speed. Will he go for a late lunge into the bus stop? It'd be a tricky place to do it. He's gone purple though. Tries to go wide, forces an outside line from the Mercedes driver, but that has lost him out quite significantly there, unfortunately. He'll have a bit more work to do to get back onto the rear bumper of Nicholas Gow, but the pass is almost inevitable. 4 laps to go, and Nick is running on absolutely nothing but the skin of his teeth on those tires. The medium tire and the one stop, putting him high up the grid, but not really working out long term for the strategies. The Mercedes just doesn't treat its tires very well, and Nicholas just not really taking account of that, as we do see a little bit of contact between the two. But Aiden Sampson, he's gotten past, and he needed to, because Jeff Bruin is starting to run away. 4 seconds the gap to these guys already. So good stuff. I think overall Aiden has made up about 1.5 seconds, so good job by him. Dean still being chased down by Monica Camilleri, and we'll take a little look at the rear of the grid as we do see Karma making a great move there into the S's on fresher soft tires on Tim Piers. So she gains a place, and now up into 13th spot. We've got Robbo in 12th spot, so he's had a bit of a disaster because, oh, he's picked up another penalty. This man is having a run of very bad luck, because he's picked up a 3-second penalty, a 1-second penalty, and now another 1-second penalty. So despite the fresh racing soft tires, not able to keep it on track. He hasn't picked up any damage, which is good. But that fight with Matthew Joynson ahead of him is now going to be a distant memory, as we do come on to the 22nd lap of this race, and 38 minutes in. It's all starting to heat up towards the end. 11th spot currently to Matthew Joynson. He's ahead there for the Porsche 911. The soft tires suffering a little bit. I think he's gone for the 2-stop strategy as well, but it's just not working out for him, sadly. Troy Britnell, he's doing very well in the AM category on the racing soft tires here. He's chasing down Chris White ahead of him in the F-Type Jag. So a bit of a tire difference between the two, and the F-Type Jag not looking very happy on its tires at all. But 9th spot will be a good finish for Chris White. Certainly a lot higher. He's been finishing down the bottom of the grid most races, so he's really improved this race, and I think he's on for a solid finish in 9th spot. So we do have a pit stop from Nicholas Gow. He's now down into 8th spot and picked up a 0.5 second penalty. He's going for the last 3 laps on the racing hard tires. So that gives Wade Rushton a 3rd spot finish at the moment as it stands now. And podium for the AM class driver. He's going to be stoked with that. I think it's the first time we've had an AM class driver potentially on the podium, but there's always a but, folks, because Dean van der Zandt is only 3.5 seconds behind him and absolutely flying on fresher soft tires. So keep yourselves buckled in, because the end of this race is going to be something to watch. I tell you, it's going to be a showdown between Wade Rushton and Dean van der Zandt. The F-Type Jag versus the BMW towards the end, as we do come on to the 23rd lap now. So 3 laps to go in this race. Between the leader, the gap is shrinking, but not by a lot. Jeff doing very well to manage his tires. 3.3 seconds the gap to Aiden Sampson behind him. And Monica Camilleri on the medium tire. She's holding, well, she's in the doldrums at the moment. 3.5 seconds in front and behind her. And Dylan Scarborough, he's second in the AM category at the moment, so he'll bag a bunch of points for this. Madrick in 7th spot. He's having a much better race than he's had before, but still involved in a bit of contact earlier on. Has kind of set him back in the field, unfortunately. So Monica Camilleri here. She's not going to be up in the top 3, sadly, as Dean did get ahead of her earlier on, about 4 laps ago, I believe. So she's just suffering a little bit on the one-stop strategy, but very brave thing to do on the mediums, as is with Fitness Geek, who's the other medium runner, or was the other medium runner. But the one stop here for Monica Camilleri doing very well. And I believe that Nicholas Gow, just hearing some information from the pits, and Nicholas Gow has actually been on the 2-stop strategy, but he went onto the mediums for a long stint. As we've got a bit of an incident here between Jeff Bruin and Hellblazer. Let's see if we can catch that, as we do see an incident. Yes, it looks like Jeff has gone wide and he's lost the position through into the heel to Aiden Sampson. So the gap has absolutely disappeared and damage has been picked up by Jeff Bruin. Has he just thrown away a race lead? I think he might have. The Racing Soft just not providing the grip. Oh dear, Jeff is going to be absolutely gutted, but he's still got the slipstream. 2 laps to go in this race, and that damage is going to be carried all the way through to the end of this race. Oh my goodness, what a switch up we've just had. Aiden Sampson, now our race leader. He's on fresher tires, just a little bit more fuel in the tank, and he's got no damage to contend with. So can Jeff do anything now? Will there be a mistake from Aiden, or will Aiden just sail home and take the victory? This is great stuff, but Jeff, he's run a superfluous race all the way through for 23 laps and then has an incident. Hardly loses any time, but it's enough for Aiden Sampson to come on through for Diffusion Race Engineering. Oh dear, the 18 car is going to be absolutely disappointed. And the team as well is going to be gutted. 2nd and 3rd now for Gridline Racing. Could have been a 1st and 3rd spot. And I just don't see Jeff being able to catch up with the damage that he's got. 0.6 the gap. 0.65 the gap. Oh dear, they are coming through the shoe for the 2nd to the last time. The white flag will be out now for this last lap of the race, as they will come across the line in a few corners. Crikey, what a switch up we've had. And then we've also got Dean van der Zandt chasing down Rushfire. It's Wade Rushton in 3rd spot, but I don't think that's going to happen either. 3 seconds still the gap, so Wade doing a brilliant job, but his tires are running very, very low. It's going to be a dodgy final lap. But crikey, I just can't believe what's happened up the top of the grid. That is super unlucky for Jeff Bruin, but an absolute godsend for Aiden Sampson. He's going to be absolutely stoked, and he was about 4 seconds behind Jeff, missing out on the great strategy call of just going for the 1 lap on the hard tires at the early part of the race. Jeff just, crikey, it's so unlucky. The gap continuing to extend. Still in the slipstream range though, so one small issue from Aiden Sampson and it's all over. We're going to stay on this race as the white flag is out, and oh dear, look, Aiden Sampson's run very deep. Had a bad exit from turn 1. That's going to bring Jeff back into contention on the wrong part of the circuit for Aiden Sampson. But this is going to give Jeff the run all the way down into the bus stop. Can he make something happen here? The overspeed will be in effect. He'll be right in the slipstream range. Perfect place to try the overtake. And Aiden's going to try and shut the door, but he just can't do anything, can Jeff? Absolutely nothing that he can do, and tries to get close. Oh, that's very, very close there. I told you, one little mistake here from Aiden, and he will be off. His tires absolutely disappearing, and Jeff behind him is giving it absolutely everything for Gridline Racing. He knows that he can take a double victory here today at the special event at round 6. Can he make it happen? But again, Aiden Sampson pulls out a gap in the infield section of the track. Down towards the shoe they go. We're going to stay on board with this. Behind, we've got Rushfire. He's still got a pretty decent gap, and then Super VT is still ahead of Dylan Scarborough, so nothing really changing down the grid. This is the fight that we all want to watch right now. Can Jeff Bruin make something happen, some miracle happen on this last few corners of the race? And oh dear, Aiden's gone a little bit wide again, misses the apex. Jeff's just not able to take advantage of it. The damage on his car just hindering his performance. We know he's faster on track. He set the best qualifying time in qualifying. He won the race in the sprint race, but he's not going to be able to win the race here at the endurance race for the feature race here at the feature race here at Watkins Glen for round 6. And taking the victory will be Aiden Sampson for Diffusion Race Engineering. Fantastic stuff from him. Very consistent race, and second place goes to Jeff Bruin. Oh, he'll be gutted, finishing only 0.7 behind, and third spot to Gridline Racing's Wade Rushton, the AM class victor today. Oh, well done to Wade Rushton. Great job by him. And then Dean van der Zandt comes across the line in fourth spot. Monica Camilleri, very close finish between her and Dylan, but 5th and 6th for them respectively. As we do see Madrick, his best result of the season, 7th spot for him as he comes across the line with almost no fuel in the tank. And on debut as a reserve driver in the 426 car for Black Rose Racing, it will be Nicholas Gao. Good job by him. He nearly held on for the top 5, but wasn't able to based on his strategy. Troy Britnell takes 2nd spot overall in the AM category. Third place overall in the AM category. And then we've got Black Friday, Matthew Johnson only able to take 10th spot. Wow, what a race we have had today in the feature race. 46 minutes, 25 laps, 3 very distinct strategies, mixing up the field. What an incredible time we have had at Watkins Glen today. And I hope everyone has enjoyed watching from the grandstand. Some comments already coming in. So thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate it, because it's just been an absolutely throat-destroying race. My voice is completely gone. So I wish myself the best of luck in the meetings tomorrow. But nonetheless, crikey, what a finish we had there. Jeff just, I don't want to say it, but he threw away the race victory. He could have had a clean sweep of the weekend. It would have been a perfect weekend for him, but not able to make it happen, sadly. So to your results screen now, folks. And like I said, a brilliant, brilliant race from everyone on track. The best lap set by Aiden Sampson, 45.1. And do put your driver of the day recommendations into chat. I do want to see what everyone in chat thinks. So do let me know what your driver of the day, who your driver of the day is today, and I'll give you my thoughts a little bit later. But second place goes to Jeff Bruin of Gridline Racing, then third spot to Gridline Racing's Wade Rushton. So great stuff by the Rushfire. He's done an excellent race today. Wins the AM category championship and comes third position overall in the race. Brilliant, brilliant job by the AM category driver. He's going to be absolutely stoked. Dean van der Zandt takes 4th spot in the F-Type Jag for WTCR, a 1:45.690, his fastest time. And then 5th spot goes to Monica Camilleri, a good showing for her in the V12 Vantage for NED Racing. Then 6th spot, second in the AM category, is going to be Dylan Scarborough in the 911 Porsche for Scarborough Motorsport. Then 7th spot for the Pro-Am driver of Strike Racetech, it is Madrick. Great result, best result of the season for him. And then our reserve driver for Black Rose Racing in the 426 car, it is Nicholas Gao taking 8th spot. Then 9th position, Troy Britnell taking a podium for Black Rose Racing in the AM class in the Mercedes AMG. Good stuff from him. 10th spot goes to Matthew Joinson. A terrible showing for him today, sadly. He'll be disappointed, but looking to make a comeback in round 7. For Dylan Scarborough Motorsport. 11th spot, it is Chris White in the F-Type Jaguar. 46.9 his best lap for WTCR. Good finish overall for him, and he'll bag himself a few points. 12th spot goes to Richard Robinson for Diffusion Race Engineering. His counterpart won the race, and he was looking in place for something like a 5th or 6th spot finish, but sadly some damage and picking up nearly 5 or 6 seconds worth of penalties across the race just ruined his chances to get up the top of the grid. 13th spot to Karma Foster for NED Racing. Good showing for her, but she'll be disappointed to be this far down the grid. Looking forward to round 7, I'm sure. And then last but not least, it is Tim Piers. 46.672 for him, his best lap in the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Coca-Cola sponsored Strike Race Tech car. Wow. Absolutely incredible. And let's read through some driver of the day chat here. Thank you, Chief, saying, let's go, Rushfire. Drew Griffin saying, great race, awesome call. Nick for driver of the day. Yeah, I think that could be quite a good call there. Which Nick is that? Am I forgetting? I'm already forgetting everyone on the driver grid. So, Drew, maybe you could just tell me once again, which Nick are you calling for? And then Chief says Wade Rushton. Richard Robb said Kirsty says Monica. Excellent, cool. And some more votes for Jeff Bruin. So it's a very tricky one for me today in terms of the driver of the day, because we had a near clean sweep by Jeff Bruin. I think he did really, really well. If he didn't make that one mistake at the end, he would have had a perfect weekend. And I have said before on comms that if someone gets a perfect weekend, they absolutely get the driver of the day. But, you know, for Jeff, it's his best result of the season. He's won a race today, and he's come second in a race today. That's really, really good. But his teammate in the AM category, who takes out top spot in AM class, Wade Rushton, has put on an absolutely brilliant show, staying ahead of the driver championship leader, Dean van der Zandt, leading the Pro-Am championship. So, very, very tricky one. That's Nicholas Gow, is it? You're saying, Drew Griffin? So I think at the end of the day, while Jeff nearly had the perfect race, I think he deserves the driver of the day, absolutely. But I wish I could give 2 drivers of the day, because I think the Gridline Racing chaps here have put on an absolute masterclass at Watkins Glen. Aiden as well, you got to give hats off to him. So honorable mentions to Aiden Sampson for sure. Gets the race victory, but was second in class to Jeff Bruin. I think between them, they've both done very, very well for themselves. But I have to say, Wade Rushton, he qualified extremely well. He did very well in the sprint race. And here he is, podium position, out of class, leader of the AM class championship in terms of points for this result. I think the driver of the day today has got to go to Wade Rushton. Congratulations to him. Really, really good job to get on the podium position with his BMW for Gridline Racing, bagging them a bunch of points, way ahead of a lot of the other Pro-Am category drivers. So really good job. He's my driver of the day today, Wade Rushton. Great stuff. Whew. All right, well, my voice is absolutely destroyed as the lobby does go down, so we will start rounding out the stream today, and crikey, let me know your thoughts about how you enjoyed the race. I think it was an absolute banger of a race. What a great format we've had at the special event here at round 6 at Watkins Glen for the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. Absolutely spectacular racing from everyone on track. A real mix of strategies today, which was great to see, and really made my job very difficult, I have to admit, trying to keep up with all the action on track. The field did get a little bit split up later in the race, but nonetheless, 2 races tonight, a 10-lap sprint race and a 25-lap endurance race. So do let me know in chat if you've all had a good time. I know that the crowds are starting to filter out now, getting back in their big 4x4 cars at Watkins Glen and heading out back home after witnessing what was a fantastic race here in round 6. It's just brilliant. I've had an absolutely brilliant time in the commentary box, and I can tell you on behalf of all the broadcasting crew and everyone who's provided the graphics, images, and on-track advertising and everything to do with the MotorMotion E-Series League, this has been an absolute peak of the season, and we're only halfway through, folks. Round 6, we've still got round 7, 8, 9, 10 to go in this amazing Season 1 for the GT3 Championship, which is just brilliant. And of course, we're still at the Americas for next time round, going to Daytona International Raceway, where we will be racing on the 30th of May, so at the end of the month. We do have the TCR Cup Round 3 coming up next week, so do stay tuned on all the MotorMotion E-Series YouTube channels and Facebook groups for updates on that race. And yes, one more race in America before we shoot off to Japan for 2 races there at Suzuka and Autopolis. And then the final race, we're back in Australia for Mount Panorama on the 11th of July. So stick around. It's all to play for in the championship, and we'll talk about the points and the standings at the beginning of next race. So join me back here in 2 weeks for the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. And wow, I'm absolutely tingling all around. It's just been a brilliant race, a great racing evening. I hope everyone's enjoyed. So on that note, I think we will start rounding out the stream tonight. So thank you everyone in chat for all your comments. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the channel, as it really does support us. And if you want to find out more about the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship or any of the other leagues, including TCR Cup and Supercar Series, you can check out the information in the description of this YouTube video. And of course, a shout out to our Group A lobby as well, and all the pro and elite level drivers. And the commentator for that is Joel Austin. So shout out to them as well. They're still going, so go and give them a like and a subscribe as well. And hopefully, folks, we will see you all in the grandstand next week. And we will basically finish it there, folks. So once again, massive thank you to absolutely everyone today. It's been a brilliant race. And yeah, we'll leave it there. So thank you very much, folks. From the commentary box here, it is George Cooke on behalf of MotorMotion E-Series for the GT3 Championship Player1 Sim Gear. We are signing out. Take care out there, folks. Stay safe, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.